If you are now tuning in, I would highly suggest you skip forward if you're watching this after the live. I'm just going to give it about 5 minutes for some folks to come in here. YouTube is always so finicky. I'm just waiting for it to start porting over on YouTube. It's probably already on Twitter. All right, there we go. We're live on YouTube. Good evening to everybody out there. And if you're watching this after the show, after the live, I would recommend probably skipping forward a good maybe 5-10 minutes. I'm just going to give it a few moments for folks to come in here. And once we got a few folks in here, then I'll go ahead and get the show started. So that's where we're at now. And we're going to be watching let's see if I got this up. We're going to be watching an interesting kind of back and forth here between Cam Newton, who I don't know much about football. I mean, I don't watch that much football, but I know he's an NFL player, an ex-NFL player. And he had a conversation with the Psychologist. And, well, there's a lot of comments in here that are mad at him, though. Most of them do seem to be women. So we're going to watch and see what happened. But until then, I will just give it a few moments for some of the folks to get in here, and then we'll get the show started. I also do got a couple announcements. So. Hopefully we get some folks in here. Might be a slow night tonight. I had a pretty long day. Just I interviewed Stephen Baskerville today, and that went well. So you guys should be getting a video tomorrow of my conversation with him. Give it another 2 minutes or so, and then I'll start watching this. My plan is to kind of skip forward past the first 25 minutes or so. A lot of this is just kind of some background on her, but then they start talking about love and marriage. And he is a kind of self-described high-value man, so... And I think she is a strong, independent woman, so we're going to see a clash of personalities here today. And I do think it's going to be quite entertaining. The reason I decided to do this, I mean, this is just more like kind of a fun stream. I'm not exactly sure what to expect, but I caught the tail end of MTR's reaction to this. He was doing a live reaction. And it was pretty entertaining. They were arguing pretty hard, so I was like, you know what, I think we'll go over this on my channel as well. So
the healing is going to say, do you want...
Oh, give it a few more minutes. Just a couple more minutes before we get started, guys. Yo, Dan the man, you're kicking off the stream here today, man. Big thanks to you. Yo, Klaus, we got the folks in. Saving the stream. We're gonna be going over this video. It's from Cam Newton, and he's an NFL star here, but he got in a conversation with this lady, and she's a psychologist, and it got pretty heated. So I saw MTR go over a little bit of it. I was planning to skip through like the first 25 minutes. I might start it here at 17 minutes, but somebody emailed me and said the first 25 minutes is a little on the boring side. It's mostly like her childhood or whatever. But defining true love with Dr. Bryant. And then it's going to get to, does Dr. Bryant want to get married? And then they start talking about like broken families and stuff, and it just goes all over the place. So it should be a pretty heated conversation. This might kind of be like that conversation with the Manifestel. I don't know if you guys remember her, but she was that creator that had it out for a lot of us guys, and we kind of had to deal with it as we talked about it. This is kind of going to be similar because she kind of gave him a pretty big grilling. So not exactly sure where it's going to go, but it should be pretty fun. I think it'll be a fun conversation. Aside from that, I recorded the interview with Dr. Stephen Baskerville today. So just so you guys know, and I did do a one-pass edit on it. I think it's done. I might go over it again just to kind of make sure it's nice, a little nicer. I might add a couple things. But I do want to upload that probably by about noon my time tomorrow. I got a thumbnail ready for it. I didn't want to post it tonight because I just, I figured, well, we're going to be streaming and then I have this video and then I'm live at the same time. But it will be ready tomorrow, and I'm really hoping, you guys enjoy it. I rewatched it after recording. It was my first like Zoom call interview style video, and I really enjoyed it and had a great conversation with them. So I think you guys are gonna like it too. I forgot to turn a light on. There we go. There we go. That's better. I figured. I also think I have this other problem. Yo, Will, welcome in, bro. Great to see you, man. I think I have this other problem with my camera. Every time I switch between like this view or this view. I was rewatching my reaction to the Aaron Wren show where he interviewed Stephen Baskerville last night, because I interviewed him today, and I noticed every time I switched over to camera, after like a few seconds, my camera would just become brighter, or the scene would, and I just could not figure out for the life of me why that was happening. But it's not that big of a deal. It's just the kind of stuff that drives me crazy. And yeah, if you guys don't mind, please hit the like button. It's going to help the stream out. And I don't know if you guys are NFL fans or not, but I'm not the biggest NFL guy, I'll be honest. I'm mostly a soccer guy, and specifically only when the World Cup comes around, or the Euro Cup. Or if there's a soccer game being played right in front of me, then I'll watch it, because it's hard not to. Though, I know he is a accomplished NFL player, so that's really all I know about him, and it looks like he's got this podcast. He's going to be talking to this psychologist, and from what I saw on MTR's reaction, mediocre tutorials and review, it got pretty heated. I mean, he kind of lives the quote-unquote high-value man lifestyle, and she kind of starts picking at him. I mean, she's a psychologist, so she's going to start, breaking it down and doing what she does. It did seem like he was getting grilled a bit, and we'll look at the comments later, but like every single comment was just upset with him. They do mostly seem to be from women, so I don't really know exactly what happened, but this guy's channel is mainstream, I think. I mean, well, for YouTube, but he's got a lot of subscribers. He's an NFL guy, so we're gonna have some fun with this. So let's just get started into this and have a good time. I hope everybody's doing well out there. I have another surprise announcement. Please remind me and don't let me forget. Towards the end of this, I will let you guys know. And I think you guys might find it pretty cool. Yo, Shadrach, welcome in. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. All right, let's start watching and just see what happens. This first couple minutes might be a little boring, but I figured it'll just give us a nice lead up.
So I would say it this way.
And they're defining true love right now. I believe that's what they're doing.
I mean, you've obviously been vocal and talking about running away from things and doing this, it being trauma. Do you have a tangible source in your life, ever had a tangible source in your life that you can touch, see, feel, experience what true love actually is, a healthy relationship?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. This is just going to be another great opportunity for a poll, and I'm just going to have to do it now. And we'll leave it up and see what we see at the end of the show. Do you believe in true love? Question mark. And all right. And I'm going to leave it yes or no. I'm not going to put it undecided on here. So we'll start the poll. That'll be in there. We'll look at that later. So we'll just have fun with that. All right, here we go.
Who is that?
Yes. My grandmother and my father. And now that my mom is sober, my mother. But in her addiction, it was my grandmother who raised me and my father, thank God, who...
Okay, so that's interesting right there. So, I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but what we're learning is that her mom had addictions and that she was primarily raised by her grandmother. So that's interesting.
Didn't allow me to be a fatherless girl, and we were best friends. And
No.
You're talking about a romantic relationship?
Yes. That relationship
love
where
that.
we're talking about, the question was, were your parents married, right? And
I think a lot of this interview is going to be that, at least from what I've seen on the MTR side. There was a lot of him trying to re-ask the question, a lot of her kind of with these sharp answers. And it seemed very uncomfortable the whole time.
and they weren't, so that having an impact on
Right.
you, and that's why you strung them shoestrings up tight.
Yeah.
But I'm like, have you being who you are and knowing the right things and unpacking and this, and
Knowing them now.
knowing them now,
Yes.
have you identified someone
Yes.
that you can touch, that you can call, that you know that is what you want to be? Like, instead of running away from something, you running to
it.
something that you like, I want that. And who is
That's kind of an interesting question. I mean, especially for someone who's a psychologist, because, there's all that therapy speak nowadays, like trauma and this and, whatever they like to throw around. And if it's like someone like, okay, you're an expert in this and you've done the sort of internal work, so to speak. Now what? So are you able to identify these things? I feel like it almost kind of boils down to either why don't you have a relationship, or shouldn't you be in a good relationship if you know all these things about yourself?
that for you?
So it is not an individual? No. It's
Them some tig old biddies. Oh, that one. Oh, well,
still an ideology.
I guess it's all part of selling the brand,
It's still something that I've created in my mind. And so there's not a person that I...
Now that you say that, Will, could you imagine yourself like being in a psychologist's office and you're having this conversation with her? Like, would you be able to concentrate? That could have been another poll.
look at and I say this very humbly, besides myself, because I've done a hell of a job of working through my pain pockets. I've done a hell of a job of getting myself to a place of thriving and no longer surviving. And so that person is me. I look at myself and I say, I want to be you. I look at myself and I say, I love you. I look at myself and I thank that little girl for surviving. And then that little girl looks at that woman and she says, thank you for learning to thrive. Because now I'm able to be a little girl and do the things I can do. And I no longer have to protect you as a woman and show up in your relationships, because there's no place for a little girl or a child in adult relationships, not just only romantically, but professionally. And so I would honestly have to say that that woman would be me, working through, conditions of love and coming to a place of self-love. Yeah, 100%. I am who I want to be.
Okay,
I'm
so
her.
this is a trigger for me.
Trigger is like one of those other psychology words, I think so, or like emotional dysregulation and these kinds of things. Will says, I would be so distracted. I would probably accidentally say something about them. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Because if you've never witnessed it firsthand, a healthy relationship, you find that source in yourself, which
Well, I never said I haven't witnessed a healthy relationship. Is there a person?
I think she did mention her grandma. I don't know if she said her grandma was in a relationship or that. Just her relationship with her grandma was good.
You said tangible source that I look at where I'd want to emanate or be like, no. I've witnessed healthy relationships, yes, and I've been in healthy relationships, yes. But anything that I've witnessed as far as a person that I want to be like or emanate, I don't have that. No.
So it's triggering to hear that, knowing that if things get shaky, Rocky. Everybody wants somebody so they can run off in the sunset with.
With, keyword with.
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
this is the thing, though. And my mom is an angel. And I always love having real conversations with my mom. She's a church-going, God-fearing woman. All she knows is my dad. And I use her for a source of wisdom, and she used me for a source to stay hip.
Nice.
And she says this about relationships. Everybody wants to find a happy ending.
Right.
And they want to find.
She's been in a healthy relationship. What does that mean? Yeah, that's a great question too. Just defining what a healthy relationship is. I feel like they almost tried to get there, but then it kind of ended up in one of these self-love kind of talks and all that. Maybe they'll talk a little bit more about it as we get into it. I might be mishearing this, but it sounds like maybe I don't know if she's in a relationship now or not, or she may not have had one. I don't want to put words in her mouth too early, or at all. So I think he's trying to get that out of her, but we'll see if she has, or if she's with someone or not.
Heaven in a person, right? And run off in the sunset. But the reality is nobody wants to find somebody who's worth going to hell for. That's real love. Because that's understanding that you're not a finished product.
Right.
You're worth finding the best version of you.
Of yourself, yes.
And you running away or not having a person in your life that can assist, help, you go to and say, girl, let me tell you, Tyrone, he doing it again. What do you do like when Tyrone ain't answering his phone and I know he say he at work, but I don't know, I done looked at the other girl Instagram and they in the same blah, blah, blah. You know how
I get what you're saying,
detective women can be. Like, I need, the FBI need to hire more black women because they gonna figure something out.
Right.
The black woman I know, strong, very curious, detective, go gadget information. They gonna figure that out. But you not having that source in the time of need, not when everything's good. We don't need no more invitations to the wedding or to the anniversary or to the party or to this or to that. We need people who gonna help me when I need help in an unconventional or when the situation is not so much straight and narrow.
Right.
That's why it's triggering to me.
So let me hear you correct. It's triggering to you because what you hear me saying, which sounds like we have a little slight disconnect. What you hear me saying is that I don't have a go-to person when Tyrone, which I don't have a Tyrone, thank God, or something is off kilter in my world, that you hear me saying I don't have a go-to person or a resource that can help me process through that.
I mean, from that, I'm gaining that sounds like she's single or not in a relationship.
That.
Not, okay, perfectly fine. Just trying to figure it out.
Correct.
Okay.
Or I can also add to that, you don't have a healthy ecosystem where, I'll give you an example.
No, I got you.
Staying on point is quick. So if I take a relationship serious with an individual, it's going to be hard for that individual to understand or to fight for something if her resources are single women.
I agree.
Are bachelorettes.
I agree.
Are divorcees.
I agree.
Are certain situations, and I'm like,
100%.
So they say, birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me you're the only good girl out of all these?
And another thing, people give advice from their results. Right. So every day we live on the results of our decisions, and so they're giving you advice on things they have experience in. If it's single, it's experience in being single. If it's married, it's advice from a married woman. So what I'm saying is, yes, I have a strong support system. I have a healthy ecosystem. I have people that I do go to, and the Bible says, do I seek wise counsel? Yes, and I have wise counsel within my world and within my foundation.
So now, you have them now? Or?
Yes, I have them now. Yes, I have that.
But when I just asked you.
No, that's
it's
not.
Such a weird conversation. I don't even know why it's just something about the tension has just kind of dragged me in. And I mean, it worked. This thing got a ton of views and a ton of engagement and comments. But I am curious what the healthy ecosystem is that she's describing, and if they really are other single women that he seems to purport here.
Which asked me, or how I received it was, is there anyone who I look to that I'd want to be like or admire. I don't have that. That person would be myself. But as far as a support system, not only do I have a therapist, not only do I have a pastor, not only do I have a mother, and I have a circle of wealth, which I call friends and support system, who, male and female, single and married, who, that's why I said, some do have healthy relationships and some don't have healthy relationships, but they're all part of my ecosystem. Again, contrast, the person who doesn't have a healthy relationship is also teaching me things on what not to do and things I may not want to do. Folks like your mom, who are extremely wise, who, you know, are still, I'm guessing from what you said, still with your dad.
Right.
She has a different perspective that definitely adds to, you know, me processing through my journey and what that looks like. So I have a very equally yoked circle of resources that help me through whatever I'm going through for the clarity. But do I have somebody who I look to that I want to be like? That person is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
Okay, so I guess that answers that. She has single and friends and relationships, and a pastor and a therapist.
Now, I want to.
So, and I think her saying that she wants to be, I guess, like her or whatever is triggering him, and I think that's what the facial expressions are.
I want to respond to something. You said there's a lot of that black women, and I know it was a joke, but being serious, black women are women, you know, folks would hire to do the detective investigative work. Because they're going to find out anything. They're going to be on social media, Instagram, cell phones, all that. They're going to piece it together. They're going to figure it out. See, that's the dysfunction that I'm talking about is an issue.
Okay.
And that's also when I'm referring to low functioning behaviors. That's a choosing issue. First of all, not that I'm better than any other woman or they're better than me. I'm not choosing a man that I have to become a detective to. Even the men I called off weddings from, to their defense, just because I called it off doesn't mean they weren't good men.
Dang, so she almost got married. I mean, and she said men, not man. I mean, she could be talking about one person, but so for whatever reason, she decided to call off weddings at this point. So and then this is a psychologist. So this is interesting. So I think she represents very well, you know, what the new kind of woman is. You know, as far as our culture creates, basically.
I'm choosing men who I can be a wife or a woman to. I'm not choosing a man that I can be a detective to. So when women are choosing men, I think that certain things to become aware of are, do I have to go into my detective, which is my trauma? Do I have to go into my investigative, which is my dysfunction? Yeah. Because if so, that man is triggering and bringing those things up. And he only brings those things up in you because those things are in him. Yeah. And start trusting your spirit more, ladies. And this is another thing. Women with daddy issues are going to be okay with being an investigator and a detective. Because oftentimes, remember, they have learned subconsciously how to investigate and detective, why is daddy not here in the household? So it doesn't make me say, why would they not grow up thinking the norm is to wonder where you're at, to wonder what you're doing, and to wonder why you're not there, and think that that's okay based on their norm of daddy issues. I have a father who we were best of friends, who was extremely, extremely involved in my life, a father, a daddy, everything. So I never had to wonder or investigate my father. I never had to wonder or investigate his motives with me. So I don't navigate the world thinking that that's the norm to try to figure out or investigate on social media, through your cell phone, through anything, what your motives are, who you are, what are you doing. That is an unhealthy relationship. That is your trauma and your pain choosing for you. And I would offer that any woman who's in that situation get help. Leaving isn't easy, and to learn how to choose different, learn how to choose better, because you deserve better. And let me go further. The man who you're investigating or you're feeling like you have to do these things with, and you can't just be in a safe space, you can't nest him, he also deserves better. And his getting better is you pivoting and leaving and telling him that he needs to get some help before he can be with a woman who is of your caliber. When I say your caliber, who's willing to get help for yourself, so you choose different. Daddy issues don't mean you got to be with your daddy. It just means you got to take inventory of what daddy, who you didn't have, looks like, and stop choosing that kind of man.
Man, I think I get what she's saying, but I just feel like that was such a big rant, and I really didn't process a lot of that and it's possibly due to all kinds of internal things that might need exploring in order to understand what she was saying there. But I feel like none of that really landed.
Next question.
I feel like he's definitely so triggered from her. He's just like, why did they book her?
Y'all know I love going to
Oh,
live
man.
events, whether it's football.
Boxing gloves still on. Dang. Yeah, man. And I for the sake of my cigar, I mean,
is gone.
yeah, it's about to get there. I just want to ask a simple question.
And it's going to be a simple answer.
Hopefully,
Man, see, you know, a guy like this that is an NFL player, like I could. It doesn't make sense that guy would ever want to be married to a woman like that. I mean, I think this guy, I mean, I don't know if he's won Super Bowls or not, but he's obviously very accomplished, you know. And it's like, could you imagine being married and like just having to have like that sort of just tense discussion like every day after work, and this sort of just constant back and forth and bickering, justified or not? That was just uncomfortable. After that rant, my first impression is she got into that field of profession to diagnose herself. Yes, absolutely. That, I mean, and to be honest, it seems like it's only gotten worse from there, you know. And, you know, there's a field of people that are just like this, whether it's like marriage, family therapists or anything like that. It's usually people who are just in the dumps themselves, and they just gravitate towards those fields because they think it's going to fix them. And I don't even think majoring or becoming experts in those fields will fix them.
in the time frame of me smoking this cigar.
And he's almost trying to box her in a little bit. You know, he's basically saying, like, how can a single woman who's friends with other single people for the most part be able to give advice? And I think she probably kind of sensed that, and now she's super defensive. He's just probably sitting here like, why am I putting up with this? I mean, it is making for, I hate to admit it, an entertaining watch. I don't know if this is going to be as educational as the stuff we usually watch on here, so I apologize for that. But I'm just looking at what the kind of quote-unquote high-value man is interacting with, you know, sort of this opposite side here, and it's very interesting.
Do you want to get married?
Hard, yes. Absolutely want to get married.
So
I wonder how old she is. Maybe I'll be able to find her. I think she said her Dr. Bryant, psychologist. Cheyenne Bryant? I think that's probably who it is. Cheyenne Bryant. Yeah. That's what it looks like. She's a life coach. Interesting. Okay, so she's a life coach. TV shows, Teen Mom, Family Reunion. Okay, looks like she's from... Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to find an age on her. I mean, I'm guessing... You're a 41-year-old relationship coach, but you're still single. Okay, so 41. All right, we got it, guys. So she's 41. That's not judging.
the question is, if you've never seen a healthy marriage, how are you able to identify one?
So let me answer again.
I feel like another question can also be, what can you offer? Like, so a guy like this, especially if she wants an accomplished man, that's like a standard question in these dating shows. This is almost becoming a dating conversation. You know, and I wonder what she would say to those kinds of questions.
Grew up in a household where a healthy marriage was something that was present for learned behavior. I am 41 years old. I'm an adult who has done a lot of work. So in today's world, with my work and my healing and my old friends who I have now made new friends, I now have, and I do see healthy relationships.
But none that you want to be like, yo,
No,
I
because,
like what y'all have.
Right.
I want to emulate that.
I think that was probably kind of his earlier question, is like, who would you point to someone that you want to be like? And it's kind of asking the same thing in relationships now, but she said, I just want to be like me, which if you're very focused on yourself, it probably is not going to help, with the relationship. But let's see.
No, and it's not because what they have isn't healthy. It's because I have a strong sense of self. And I'm not knocking people who look to other people and say, I would like that, or I get what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have
A strong sense of self. So that's probably that's the strong and independent trope right there. And you can almost say masculine personality. All right, cool.
a strong sense of self, and I don't want what someone else has. I want what is aligned in God's will for me is. And so I have a strong understanding that what's for me ain't gonna look like your healthy relationship. And if I get caught up in, I want that, or I want it to mirror that, then I may be looking and meeting my husband saying, you don't fit this box, which is called compartmentalizing. And my husband, who's God sending to me after all my work, doesn't need to fit a box. He needs to come authentically who he is. And my job is to love him where he is, how he is, and pray on the ways that I don't understand, because I'm not supposed to lean onto my own understanding. I'm supposed to trust God in all his ways. And when doing that, that means I'm not looking for anything externally to idolize when I have myself in God.
That's kind of an interesting thing too, because she brings up God several times, and it seems more like a justification for basically the life she's living, and that's fine. I think everybody, who believes in God, that's great. But when you say like God and his ways, I wonder if she's just talking about her own personal understanding of God, or if she's talking about an established religion's understanding of God's ways. So that sticks out to me.
And I know that who my husband is, I will feel it. I don't have to see it in someone else's world. And the other thing is, we got to be careful with wanting what somebody else has from the optics, because it could look like we want this beautiful mansion, and we go in that house, excuse my language, that motherfucker's more homeless than people who sleep on the street. Because just because you got 4 walls and you have a marble floors and you have a gated home and you have a 10,000 or 20,000 square foot home doesn't mean that thing ain't more homeless than the person who's in a high-rise apartment, or a person who's in a single apartment living in downtown LA and they're a student who's poor, okay? That has nothing to do with it. So I'd rather have a little apartment with my husband and baby, we got wealth, than be in a big mansion like a lot of people have done and be homeless in that thing. And I'm sitting here creating this image for my people to admire me, but I'm dying in the inside. When you talk about resources and people, I don't want no friends around.
Wow. See, this is, oh my, I don't know what to make of this, but it's just like, it seems almost like a kind of resentment towards someone who's successful and has like a lot of their own things. And even though you have this big house and you have all these things, you can still be empty on the inside and still be homeless, and I can still feel lonely, even though I'm married to you there because you're a bad person, even though you have all these things. This would be a nightmare to be married to, especially if you're, a successful person.
Around me who can see me as a mansion, but let me die as a homeless person internally. I'm good. And nor do I want to be the woman who says, I want what Cam and this woman has. Now I know
it almost sounds like making it up as you go along. And I'm trying to give her credit. I'm trying to be patient.
That when this woman goes wherever she going, she's really speaking the real about what y'all got going, but she's not gonna tell me, because she wants me to keep feeding her trauma, which is that mask and that costume she's wearing, to make people think that relationship is good. I'll pass. I'll take what God has for me, and I will continue to pray for those who I see have a healthy relationship and support them. But I don't want nothing nobody has, because it's not mine. And if it ain't yours, y'all, you can't keep it. You can't sustain it. So stop wanting things that ain't yours. Stop wanting things that don't belong to you. That's called despair. Get you some help. Get you some healing, get you a sense of self, and start wanting things that are yours. And then you may not end up with a man who's beating your ass because you thought he was putting her on jets and buying her Birkin bags and taking her to nice restaurants when she was going home getting her ass beat. But you wanted it though, right? Be careful what you ask for. Start asking God, reveal to me what I'm saying I want, so I understand the transparency of it. God, reveal to me what's mine, so I can have that. And I don't
Holy crap, guys. I don't know what I walked into on here. I apologize.
end up praying to you to get out of it. And I don't rush to the altar just to become a divorcee or a baby mama or a baby daddy. We don't want what nobody else has. We
Next
want what's
question.
ours, because that is good enough. I caught that pic.
He was like, damn, I missed like 60% of what you said.
You caught the pig. Just because you talking loud, just because
I wasn't loud.
Just because your voice
I wonder what that means, caught the pick. I really don't. I'm not sure what that
is
means.
I wasn't
inflected,
loud.
just because you're leaning forward to your
I
camera.
wasn't loud.
doesn't-
I would say she was. It's kind of a little rude too and obnoxious. She's definitely obnoxious and sort of when it doesn't really call so much for it to be.
I mean, you just called
I'm,
it pick.
I'm talking to my people. I'm talking to my people. Who I
All
want
I'm
to get it
trying
right.
to say is you took something completely out of context when I said your resources around you that you said.
Yes. We cleared that up though.
Yeah, but the resources that you have around you of healthy relationships,
They are.
not that you want that.
Deanna the Man says, I kind of get what she is saying. Like, don't be envious. End of the story. Yeah, I can get that part. Like, don't be covetous of what other people have. But it is just couched in a lot of extra things.
That you said, you took what I said, and yeah, I said, I want that, but it's not, I want
No,
what they have.
I don't.
It's more of an admiration for what they have,
No.
and it's like, yo, like, I want.
I think, it might even be one of those things where she kind of, like when you get a hammer and everything looks like a nail. That might be kind of something she's kind of prone to in the sense of, oh, I know all these psychological things or whatever, but everybody has to be suffering from something. And the fact that she can't really point to a couple that she would say is a healthy relationship or someone that she wouldn't mind being like might also kind of reveal that it's going to be impossible for her to find something happy and healthy like that because she can't even recognize it in others. It's one thing to not want what other people have, but to be able to recognize something good about other people, I think is still something that you can do. And it doesn't mean you're not being true to yourself.
I admire that about their relationship.
There you go. Now, hold on. Because the latter part, I have.
Before she goes on her next rant, Klaus says, damn, if that's the woman I would come home to, I would be homeless for real pretty fast. That's a good point too, because she's talking about the men making her feel homeless. But that kind of thing right there, yeah, you would feel homeless in your home real, I guess that proves that you can be homeless in your 20,000 square foot home right there. I would be homeless for real pretty fast because I would not stay in that home for long. Who would like to argue like that all the time? Yeah, that's the thing that always weirds me out too. And in my own relationships with women, I don't like to have these kinds of discussions with them. This is something that would pretty much never happen. I mean, and if it did happen, it would pretty much be the beginning of the end, or I would only be having it because if it ends, I would be okay with that. But yeah, I do not. I would rather have philosophical conversations, with my friends and stuff like that. And I know, yeah, these two aren't married, whatever. He clearly doesn't want to have it with her. I mean, this is something, this just doesn't belong in a relationship at all.
Single girlfriends I admire how they are as women. I have married girlfriends who I do admire their relationship, meaning I love that it's healthy for you. I love that you and him are doing.
It's healthy for you. See, because I think he's just trying to get out of her, like, what does a healthy relationship look like? But she's not going to be able to answer it because she's going to keep saying, well, what's healthy for them isn't necessarily healthy for me or necessarily healthy for you. So it just kind of breaks down to, I just want to make up stuff all the time, anytime, and it just happens to be that the stuff I make up is going to be always in my best interest, maybe rather than our best interest.
About mansions and beating and all that. I ain't mentioned none of that. I just said,
yeah, he's like, what are you talking about? I'm sitting here kind of wondering that too. What the heck is she talking about? Yo, Dark Sidonius, welcome in. I gotta be completely honest, I mean, this is not gonna be the most educational stream. It's just more a fun stream at this point. I don't know, I'm enjoying watching this like a reality TV show. And it's just kind of all over the place. So fair warning to everybody watching. Kind of late since at work, but the reason why there are so many whack psychologists is because 50 to 60% of psychologists actually have mental disorders themselves. I've never even looked at those stats, but you saying that, I will be honest, I believe it. I think it kind of seems to attract that sort of thing. The one stat I did see is that I think that the vast majority of them are women. Percent of therapists by gender. Here we go, right here. There are more than 198,811 therapists currently employed in the U.S. 75.6% of all therapists are women, while 24.4% are men. The average age of an employed therapist is 41 years old. Hey, the lady in this video is 41. So yeah, that's not a confidence inspiring stat right there, just off rip. But, here we go.
Cam, if it went over your dreadlocks, bring it back.
Yeah,
Let's
but
stay
you're
here.
talking about you catching pics, but you just
See, they're barbing each other right now. Their respect is on life support right now in this conversation.
over here just you on a TV timeout.
Cam, we're not on the football field. Let's bring it back here.
Yeah,
I
but you
took it
used
to the
that
football
analogy.
field. I'm sorry. We're back here.
See, now she's kind of insulting what made the man great. You know what I mean? It's like, this man is an accomplished athlete. And someone like that, it's actually a really good demonstration. It's very toxic, actually. And this is how it would work if they were in a relationship. She would slowly break him down like this by just devaluing the stuff that actually makes him valuable and respected. Like, we're not on the football field right now. We're here. This is kind of becoming more useful to watch than I thought it was going to be.
Brought it back, baby. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
it's okay. It's okay.
I'm not fleeing. I'm here.
Say less.
Now she's talking to him like he's a child. I'm not fleeing. I'm not going to abandon you. You're a baby. Oh my God. I see why she is single. Yeah. Oh God, wait till you see the comments under this video. I'll show them to you guys later. And it's nothing but what seemed to be people just like her attacking him. It was very, very weird. Big surprise, she's single. Yeah, it's just there's just a lack of respect at this point. And I see why she will stay single. Yep. Well, we'll watch as much of this as we can. I hate to admit that. I mean, this is interesting in a sense. In such a big channel also, I do find it kind of surprising. I mean, hey, maybe it gets engagement. I don't know if they knew it was going to go this direction when they invited her, but they have walked down an alley they probably weren't expecting to walk down.
Yeah.
So all I was saying
Gosh, I'd love to see Coach Greg Adams react to some clips from this.
is you saying that that's what I like is more of an
I could just hear Coach saying baby mama terrorist. You know what I mean? It's like, say she finally finds that guy and gets married. The IVF goes through. They have that one child. And then by like age 2, she's out of there. You know what I mean? And then that's it. And then it's dealing with this for the rest of the time. She's very condescending. Yeah, and there's no need for that. I mean, I think she can perfectly express what she's saying. And I want to be fair. I want to be charitable to her. I get that he's asking her questions that maybe are very personal. So I can see maybe why. But she's basically becoming very defensive and very unpleasant, which is kind of a sign of, now I'm going to use the therapy speak, emotional dysregulation. But she's like, I wasn't loud, this, that. She's kind of, doing these light sort of sneak insults on him. It's not a good look. It really is not a good look. It's fascinating, like watching a train wreck, and she is a life coach for real. Yes, she's a life coach. I mean, it was a CSU, a California State University, Northridge, that looked like it gave her her degree. But this is just not good. This is not good.
of a wordplay to saying I admire what they have.
And it probably comes from deep insecurities. Like, okay, you're 41, you're single. Okay, you know what I mean? Yeah, people are going to judge you. Guys got to deal with this, to some extent also. But, maybe it's best if she just accepts what it is. Like, yeah, I am. Like, hey, I'd love to be married. I don't know if that's in the cards for me. Like, just what she needs to understand is to be humble, like a little bit, and it's okay. You don't got to be a winner all the time. It's just try to be a humble, genuine person.
And I want to implement that into my relationship as well. Single people can't coach relationship people. And I think
there we go. See, and this is the part that's probably annoying her, because he is kind of going after, I mean, she's selling herself as a life coach. He's basically saying, you're single, you don't have a family. How can you be, how can you give advice on relationships? Life is one thing, but on relationships. if you don't actually have that, you know. And so, you know, that's actually an interesting topic, whether or not you believe that people can give advice on relationships. Like, can't someone give advice on marriage if they've never been married? And you know, it's a fair question. It's an interesting question, you know. I kind of have this sort of thing where if I do try to listen to everything everyone tells me, doesn't mean I'm going to take it for fact, but I do try to at least listen to them. Like, you know, if I meet some overweight guy, you know, at the grocery store, or I'm just walking in a park and I sit on a bench and this guy's, you know, 280 pounds and maybe he starts giving me fitness advice, I might actually listen to him, because I don't know, maybe he's, you know, 42 and he hurt his back in work. But when he was younger, he used to be in really good shape, and he does know how to be in shape, but for very legitimate reasons, he's just not in shape anymore. So, you know, I can get that. I do want to listen to everybody. To be humble with that necklace, not sure if this word is part of her vocabulary. You know, I gotta get another look at that. I think we've all been distracted.
That is what
haven't
happens
seen the necklace
too often. So when I'm asking questions about resources, when I'm asking questions about you, hard yes for a married man, I'm saying I'm triggered when I.
Oh gosh, yes, you're right. Like, having a necklace with your name on it is a little. That's Dr. Bryant. That's doctor. All right, just remember that.
I hear that as a man.
Yeah.
When I ask you, do you have healthy marriages that you've seen, witnessed,
Yes.
been a
And I
part
have.
of,
Yes.
or admired? And you clearly said no.
And I clearly said yes. But my admiration doesn't go as far as, in your exact words, I would want that. No, I don't want anything that somebody.
You know, and we shouldn't talk about looks, but she definitely has the dragon talons. These are the dragon talons right here. So those are the claws. Just, you know.
Else's. I want to help them have more of the good stuff.
Okay.
Okay? But
Now, dragons are cool. I mean, just to keep it straight, you know.
but in the sense of, you know, again, people who are doing well, married or not. But I want to go back to what you said is triggering to you, because I love.
Okay, so she didn't. Okay, so she's kind of dodging that question a little bit, because it's one thing to say you don't want what other people have, but to at least be able to recognize what is good and why that's good, and why something that's also good couldn't be part of your relationship, which is what Cam Newton is, I think, is trying to get at. But she just doesn't want to identify those things, or say she's identified those things, or open that up, you know. And it seems like it's really coming from an insecurity at this point, because, you know, she's an attractive woman, you know what I mean? And it's like, she probably could be married. I mean, she admitted it earlier that she herself called off weddings to men she was engaged to. So I don't know, you know. Yo, Robert, sir. Welcome in, Robert. And thank you so much for the generosity. I appreciate all the support of the channel. And I know you weren't here earlier, but I had an amazing discussion that I recorded with Dr. Stephen K. Baskerville, and he's an authority on family law, divorce, custody. He's written a few books, and I recorded a very interesting conversation with him that I'll be posting tomorrow. So we discussed child support. We discussed a lot of interesting things, and I just want to throw that out there. Robert Spencer says malignant narcissist. Yeah. And, you know, I don't like to throw that word around, because I know everybody's like, I was in a relationship with a narcissist. I get it. But yeah, there seems to be it ain't looking good. Oh, I know of him. Oh, I think you'll enjoy it. So I wanted to post it today, but I was like, you know, let me just be patient and just post it tomorrow. Just take my time. But I do hope everybody enjoys that. So anyways, back to this here. Whew.
Love that you said that, and a lot of people think that, you know, and it's not wrong. I get it. You know, a single woman, or even a woman with no kids, how can she coach or therapy a woman who is a mother, or a single woman, how can she coach or therapy or help or be a psychologist with people who are having marital
But
issues?
you're single.
I'm single.
Okay.
Yes, I'm single. And so I love what you're saying, because I don't know what other therapists, psychologists, or coaches do, but I don't coach married couples. Stick with me. People come to me who are married. I'm helping each of them process their own stuff.
Yo, Mr. Pitt, welcome in. Welcome in. I know it's probably going to sound like I'm repeating myself a lot to the folks that are in here, but I'm chilling. I had a long day today. I had a one-on-one interview with Dr. Stephen Baskerville, which I'm going to post tomorrow. So, please keep an eye out for that. I really will keep mentioning it, because I'm really hoping I can get a little bit of fire burning on this one. I'd love for that interview to get maybe a little bit more views than average. So all the likes, everything's going to help out that video when I post it tomorrow. And I do have another great announcement. I might as well just tell you guys now. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with who Paul Elam is. And Paul Elam, he recently, we spoke on Twitter recently, and he put up this tweet today. He said, "I suggest following this guy and subbing to his YouTube. He's bringing more badly needed historical research and perspective to the red pill discussion. Well worth your time investment to check his material out." And then he tagged me. And he said, "I'll be interviewing him for my channel and Substack at the end of next month." So that right there, that made me feel really good. I couldn't ask for a more shining endorsement. This man really is the father, I would say the true father of the manosphere, MGTOW, and even the red pill itself. I will definitely say that. And so to get this kind of endorsement from Paul, and to be offered an interview for his channel, which is here on YouTube at Paul Elam, is a badge of honor that I'm grateful to be able to have the chance to get. So I'm very excited for that. That's going to be at the end of this month. So it's been a fantastic day. We had the interview with Stephen Baskerville today. I had a great discussion with him. I had so much fun, actually. He's a professor of political science. I have a bachelor's in political science, and I used to love talking to my professors and going to office hours. And to me, somehow in my 20-year-old guy brain, I just knew, oh my God, this is a privilege. I get to talk to folks that are very accomplished in their field. So I always tried to have discussions with them that were fun. And when I finished college and started on what I was doing, I never expected I would talk to another PhD political science, professor, just like it was me back in college. So being able to sit down and talk to him for an hour and a half was fun for me, and it took me back. But now we got Paul Elam coming. So September, I'll be on his channel, and I'm very excited to chat with him. And there's just so much there. I've been recently watching his YouTube videos, and if you look at his stuff from 10 years ago, 8 years ago, spot on, just freaking spot on. And it's just so on point, and a lot of it just meshes with me, and I really appreciate it. Yo, Caesar Quintana, welcome in. I was just announcing the good news that Paul Elam will be interviewing me on his channel, and then also that I'll be posting the Stephen Baskerville interview tomorrow. So, and by the way, I did ask some of the viewer questions for the folks that were in the Discord. I did ask him a few questions. I don't want to say whose questions I asked yet. You could probably guess, but just stick around till the end so you can, maybe possibly see your question be asked and answered. But yes, it's a pleasure to see you guys in here. And Caesar, Mr. Pitt, just a fair warning that I cannot, in all goodness in my heart, say this is an educational stream. This is more just entertainment than anything at this point. I didn't know what I walked into with this, but it's a tense conversation between Dr. Bryant and Cam Newton here. So that's the unfortunate thing. My bad. I'm just getting a phone call from someone important. I'm just going to ask him if I can call him later. My bad, bro. Just midstream. He's a good buddy of mine, so I don't want to not answer him. And I think it's his daughter's birthday today, so he's probably inviting me to something. I promise to call There we go. Beautiful. Mr. Pitt says, that endorsement from Paul is well deserved. You put out quality content and offer a unique perspective, especially regarding child support. You'll be sure to develop a solid following. Hey, big thanks to you. I really appreciate that. And, you know, I appreciate the support from you guys. You know, I mean, I know it's a relatively small channel, and you guys just watching the stuff, being here on the streams, leaving likes and comments on the videos, all that stuff means a lot to me, and it helps me a lot. And it makes this whole experience just a lot more enjoyable and fun. So thank you to all of you guys. And I just want to be able to put out quality content for you guys. That's why I'm really excited about tomorrow's video. I rewatched it as I was editing it, and I was like, I think the guys are really going to enjoy it, let alone whoever seems to discover it and find it. But for you guys, you know, you folks in the chat that are always here, I really want it to be something you guys watch and then are just like, you know, wow, this is good stuff. So we'll go ahead and get back to it.
Because what a marriage is, and your mama will know it because she's a church woman, and from what she said beyond
39
wise,
years
right?
of marriage.
And even what she said about marriage.
Okay, so he comes from a family where his parents are still together. At 39 years of marriage, I think he said. They've obviously raised someone who has made them proud and is an accomplished gentleman. We haven't gotten into his relationship status. Maybe we'll find that out a little later in the show. But so far, she has been very defensive with him. He's just been trying to ask her some questions. And it is the dragon talons are really coming out here.
Everybody want to go to heaven, but you know, there's a lot of hell in it, and love that. She said that. Marriage, like the Bible says, is cleaving. Cleaving does this. Cleaving does this. Cleaving doesn't do this. And so when people come to me married, they're doing similar to Mama's statement. They're coming to me like this. And so I'm not counseling married couples. I'm counseling individuals who are coming with so many issues within themselves that they married on paper, but they ain't never even had a chance to be married mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, intellectually in any way.
I almost didn't like the second part of what she's saying tends to be where the trouble comes in. But if she's saying she's coaching people individually, I think that's fine. But if she's then going to sell it as this is what's going to allow them to, you know, mesh their marriages and have it be a true, amazing marriage and all that kind of stuff, then she's kind of walking into the territory of giving relationship advice at that point, which she's trying to sort of avoid answering when he's asking her that directly. Robert Spencer says, fun fact, cleave is its own antonym. Cleave. To cleave asunder. Gosh, see, I basically forgot what an antonym is. Doesn't it mean like the opposite of the thing? Antonym. A word opposite in meaning to another, bad or good. I wonder how it's its own antonym. That's a little confusing to me, though I do not doubt you, sir. For you, sir, are a wordsmith, and your ability to turn a phrase has never disappointed me.
But what happens is, as I help them as individuals process through their traumas and their pain and their intergenerational issues, they magically either usually cleave or, not many, but some.
Oh, like you can cleave something apart. Yeah, I just got it. As soon as she said cleave again, it hit me. It both means to come together and to split apart. That is very interesting, actually. That's a great trivia question.
Apart. Because you cannot cleave.
I wonder if she knows that. I mean,
Cleave without shedding. And the shedding that
she might even be ruining relationships and cleaving them apart, even though she's claiming to cleave them together.
Cleaving takes is the shedding of your stuff, your ego, your emotions, your trauma, your pain pockets. And when you shed of that, the cleaving was already waiting there for you. So it's not that anyone, even other therapists, are teaching married people how to cleave or be married. They're really breaking down the barriers that people have that are keeping them from being loving or in love, or like Mom said, keeping them from going not only to heaven, but sometimes taking that detour to hell just to get to heaven again, just to get back to hell, to get back to heaven. Yeah. And so I don't teach them how to be married.
She needs to shed her skin. It's funny. I don't know if you mean this, but it just kind of reminds me of like a snake. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we've already established she's got the dragon claws. There's some serious snake symbolism going on over here. Oh shoot! Oh dang it! My little widget thing isn't loading the new comments. But Klaus says I learn a lot about the English language here too. That's a fun thing. You know, I kind of have this thing where every time I see a word I don't know, I have to find out its meaning. Even if it's not an English word, it just drives me insane until I figure it out. I used to keep these long word lists in my phone. Every time when I was reading and I'd see a word I didn't know, I'd be like, let me write that down, and let me look at the definition. And it's just a kind of almost mania that I have, which, you know, I do love. I do love that. Will says she's so close to saying cleavage. For you guys who weren't here earlier, Will has totally admitted to being distracted by her for two very obvious reasons, I guess you can say. So we can see the lizard underneath. Yes, see, you did. Yeah, there's kind of goes into the whole narcissist thing too.
Because I don't think that's something that can be taught. I think that comes through each individual marriage.
You must love the lookup feature on iPhones. Oh, yeah. And I love the fact, because I read a lot of PDFs, I'll be honest. And like the reason I end up getting PDFs is because when I'm looking for a book, sometimes I'll just find the PDF version of it. You know, I read a lot of old books that are in the public domain. Anyways, but it's crazy because the iPhone now can even find a word on a PDF and be able to, you know, look it up and find it. And I'm incredibly grateful for that because I when the Kindle first came out, I loved that, you know, you can download a dictionary and it would tell you all these things. That really is where a lot of my happiness lies in being able to kind of get a better understanding of it. Yo, Caesar. Thank you so much again for the support. Paul Elam's ideas on romantic chivalry are very eye-opening. I was fortunate enough to hang out with him for a few days earlier this year. He is actually the reason I was on with Pearl. Wow. That's really cool that you actually met him in person. That's awesome. Paul Elam is a guy that goes back a long way. And I know, because I've heard a lot of other big, manosphere content creators mention him. And I'll admit, I was pretty ignorant to his works for, you know, even just up until a few years ago. I had heard him in passing, but I'd never really looked into him. And then also Peter Wright. I actually just ordered a book, Chivalry, and it's co-authored by Peter Wright and also Paul Elam. So I'm excited to learn about that. I've been looking at some of his older YouTube videos, and I plan to check out his Substack. That's really cool. It's cool to hear the story of how you also ended up on Pearl's show. So that's pretty fun too. But yeah, the idea of romantic chivalry, it's something that, you know, I think even if you ask a lot of people who kind of watch manosphere stuff, like what chivalry is or what chivalry's impact, a lot of people don't really know off top. And I was one of those people. And it wasn't until more recently that I got a better handle, because you hear chivalry, you're like, oh, that's just, you know, opening doors and this kind of stuff. But then when you really learn about the history of chivalry, how it impacted relationships, and kind of see it seated in its proper context, it is very, very fascinating. He's the grandpappy of the red pill. He absolutely is, and I think he generally takes that distinction. And sorry, just getting this one's for my brother. Yes. So, you know, the thing about that is, I know there's a little bit of conflict here in the sense of red pill, you know, generally being ascribed to Rollo, but from what I've seen and read about lately, it actually truly is more out of the men's rights movement, and the term red pill was really used with them first, prior to even the creation of the red pill subreddit. So there's a little bit of back and forth there. I think there's still a bit of a mystery there I'd like to get to the bottom of. But I actually find it very fascinating that it actually came out of the MRAs first, and I think Paul Elam's website, A Voice for Men, back in those days. Used to watch his stuff like 12 years ago. Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. Robert, you just became even cooler in my eyes today. Not that you weren't cool already. I mean, you're one of the coolest people. But that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I've been watching his stuff recently, and I'll look at the date and I'm like, wow, this was 10 years ago. And it's crazy. Like the Manosphere content that was pumping out back then is, frankly, I think even better than what we see now. So anyways, I'm excited about that coming up later in September.
Couple, because there's not one
Anyways, back to dragon claws.
way to do it.
And no offense to dragons. Dragons are a noble animal with the deep and rich symbolism. Same thing with serpents. You know what I mean? If you go back a long way, they are in a lot of religious mythology and all these kinds of things. I don't want to devalue their role in human history. But yes, she is a interesting individual.
I'm helping them break down the barriers that are keeping them from what they really want, which is to be safe, to be in love, to go to this heaven space, but to learn how to have the bandwidth to get through the journey of hell that comes as well.
Yeah, I must ask this question because I'm a product of this.
Yeah.
Has your profession affected your outlook on a relationship?
100%.
How?
My husband will be very, very grateful.
Oh, I thought she was saying it like she has a husband. No, we did find out she was single earlier. I know Will's watching, but I know he's very distracted right now. I just wanted to point that out for two obvious reasons. But okay, yeah, so she doesn't have a husband.
To all of my clients these past 16, 17 years, because my female clients have helped shape me to have more compassion. It has helped shape me to have better understanding of the pressures and the seasons that come in motherhood, that come in marriage. And my male clients, particularly my Black male clients, the married ones, have really gave me insight on the weight that comes with being a husband, being a father, how much they really are giving their all and trying their best, but it looks different to her. And so learning how to read and communicate, Cam,
it's interesting like how much fluff language there is here. It's almost like a refined form of gaslighting. Like there's so much fluff in the things that she's saying that it almost just hypnotizes you to sleep until you just kind of give up and then you just kind of have to go with it. You know what I mean? A lot of the stuff can be summed up in like 2 sentences. She became a shrink to get shrunk. Oh, shoot. What did I do? Autoplay is
What does it mean when you...
her clients sound like they've been giving her advice. That'd be one hell of a way to throw a jab at a therapist or a
text me randomly throughout the day and just say, what are you doing? Is that a message? Does that, what are you doing? Is that a message where you're just trying to tell me, baby, I love you, but you didn't say the words? So if I know that what are you doing means I love you, as your wife, the Bible says, love you by knowledge of you, not understanding, knowledge. I now know how to code that. So that helps me not personalize.
You know, I kind of wish there was a way to find out the history of when the phrase I love you became kind of something that people expected in a relationship. I bet there's some kind of AI program that can look up the instances of use for like that particular phrase, I love you, in whatever language it takes. Because I wonder if in past times that just wasn't a thing couples bothered to say, and if that really is more of a outcropping of romantic chivalry than anything, you know.
But you ain't doing it my way. But you didn't say, I love you. And you said...
By the way, our poll so far for if you believe in true love, we got 60% no. So for all you bleeding hearts out there and you know, folks who believe in romance, either participate in the poll or it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good. Dart Sidonia says, man, people need to stop going to psychologists and life coaches regarding relationships when the person in question isn't even in a long-term relationship or marriage themselves? Well, look, we got Darth Sidonius's answer to that question, But yeah, and I hate to say it. Like, I want to be charitable and say, no, you can take advice from someone like that. She, however, in particular, is just not selling me on that idea so far. She's definitely playing into a bad stereotype. The craziest part is when you look at the comments. They are all going to be on her side, and they are all mad at Cam Newton. In this case, single women keep women single. Yeah, and he was kind of alluding to that earlier when he was talking about, a woman having a bunch of single friends also, and, birds of a feather flocking together.
But baby, I say what you're doing, and that means I love you. So my clients have helped me dissipate my ego, and they have helped me not only gain a sense of self, but understand the different languages that men can speak. Also, it's allowed me to have more compassion and break my fairy tale ideology that women have. I always say this: men get married and become a father and go, oh, shoot, okay, I didn't know it was gonna take all of this. Game time. Let me try to figure this out. Let me try to see if I can do this and do that and get the car and do this and love her more and balance all this. Women, we meet you and we're like, our idea and our fairy tale is you are Prince Charming, honey. And then we try to get you to fit Prince Charming, and the more you don't fit it, the more y'all end up in my office going, but he doesn't do this. Well, has he ever did it? No, but I always just thought my husband would. Your husband or this man? So are you getting to know who you with, or are you making this man fit this fairy tale ideology that doesn't even exist anyways? And so women come and lead with, fit this, or you have no value. Men come in and go, all right, I'm here, and I'm gonna learn how to be the best I can for you. And then women do what? You're taking too long. You're not getting there because you haven't fit the box of the fairy tale. So for me, it's helped me break down what all of my clients know. Y'all know.
See, and I think this is almost kind of getting to what he was asking her in the beginning, right? Because I think he's trying to ascertain, her as a psychologist, have you broken down this fairy tale or this sort of ideal image of what your future husband or whatever looks like? She kind of is dodging the question, sort of. And then it's like, okay, if you've broken down this fairy tale image, then I guess he's trying to get more information about that. I don't know if that's a fair question to ask her, but it doesn't seem too different from this kind of rant she's going on now. Klaus says, dissipate your ego. How big was it before then? Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's almost like the most egotistical people seem to be constantly talking about the ego. That's a lie. Her ego is hanging from her neck. Yeah, gosh. It's almost like it's almost like if you walked into her house, you would probably see like a giant portrait of herself in the house. Like just a giant commissioned portrait of Dr. Bryant.
I call it the fairy tale ideology. And I'm not exaggerating, Cam. I want to say 100%, but I'm going to go 99.9% of women who come in my office, I'm having to work on breaking their fairy tale ideology of their husband. And hold on, let me say this. To his defense, they almost always have an amazing husband. But because
I think a great question to ask her, I mean, I don't know how she'd answer it or whatever, but I think a good question to ask is, why is it that so many people have a fairy tale ideology of their significant other? What is it that makes people in our culture prone to have that almost programmed into them from a very early age, right? And I wonder what she would say.
Amazingness doesn't fit her idea of amazing. Guess what? He ain't shit to her. And remember, I have no emotional investment besides I really want them to get this, work through this. I'm going, so because he don't fit your tone of red, you gonna tell me this man still ain't red?
He burgundy, though.
You see what I'm saying?
I don't.
He there.
Drinking and driving is a decision.
Two things that I really want to ask or must ask in this situation. First, in regards to the women. I don't really...
High versus low functioning explained. I think this is where they started getting into it.
Want to attack or, really speak on your clientele. But obviously with my research, you spoke about low functioning individuals, male and female. What's the percentage of males or females that you counsel that are low functioning? What's that percentage?
Love it.
I'm sure it's going to be a hero story. You know what I mean? Like, well, so many people come in broken and I fix them.
Collectively, or you want me to go male and female?
Break it down from male and female.
Okay. I would say, interesting enough, I would say that there are 70% low functioning women, 40% low functioning men.
What? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with those low functioning men, did they ever?
That seems interesting. She seems to be saying she has more of the men she sees have a less chance of being low functioning, whatever that means. We're going to find out. Versus the women that she's seeing, that might be her throwing us a bone.
Say that a man of high function will never really know true love.
No, I don't.
That's
even
an interesting thing. It kind of reminds me of what Coach says. You know how he'll kind of go on that sort of thing about how you can either love women or you can understand them. And he has this kind of funny bit where he talks about that he went up and he talked to God and, you know, he asked God for understanding of women. And then God told him, you know, if you get that, you know, like you're not going to be able to love them. So it's just like an interesting bit on Coach's show. And I feel like Cam Newton possibly sneak watches Coach, or maybe openly watches Coach, and it's sort of asking in that same vein of that idea.
believe that, but no.
Okay. So, what identifies a woman to be high functioning?
Okay, that's an interesting question right there. I mean, that's interesting. Women are usually meaner to each other than they are to men. I wonder if she's got a bias. Huh. That's an interesting point, too. Gosh, that reminds me of, you know, I used to hear that from people, too, that women like to break each other down more so than men do.
A functioning woman is a woman who wants you. She doesn't need you. And let me clear that up.
So what defines a high-functioning woman is if she wants you and doesn't need you. So essentially a strong and independent, you know, feminist boss babe who doesn't need you. She does not need you. She just wants you is high-functioning. But she said she's going to clear it up. So let's see. Maybe I've completely assumed this wrong. It's not looking good from that first statement, though.
When I say she doesn't need you, it doesn't mean she's independent. That means
Okay. So she knew where I was going.
is interdependent. I only not need you because my pain.
It's so funny because she's brought up God so many times and talked about the Bible. I wonder if she's more on the side of men and women being partners in a relationship, or if she ascribes to the sort of traditional biblical hierarchy, you know, with God, the man, and then the woman submitted to him, and then the children. Or is this going to be more of a partnership thing?
Doesn't need your pain. My dysfunction doesn't need your dysfunction to feed it for us to be in this relationship, meaning I don't need a trauma bond with you, okay? She wants you because she wants the healed part of you, but has the capacity, because we're all human, we ain't perfect, to facilitate and deal with the unhealed part of you that's gonna show up in the relationship at some point. And hers is gonna show up too, mine is gonna show up too. And so that's why I always say, I want a hybrid. I want a hybrid for y'all out there who wanna know, meaning a man who's high functioning enough to meet my healthy high functioning, but low functioning enough to deal with me when my abandonment inflames, to deal with me when some of my dysfunctions that I'm still working on inflame. Because if he's too high functioning, guess what? He doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with the low functioning part, which
I don't know if I buy that all the way. It almost just seems like kind of opening a door to be able to criticize the other person all of the time. Like, well, this is your low functioning part. You know what I mean? This is therapy speak introduced into a relationship seems like it's maybe more harmful than it is good.
then means he can only connect with folks who are not being fully authentic within themselves. Meaning
She wants her cake and eat it too. Yeah. Honestly, Cam Newton's channel should make a clip or, like a shorter clip of this and just post it with that title, frankly.
You may have a loving relationship.
I want you to be high functioning and I want you to be low functioning. Both of those at the same time. I want you to be high value and low value. I want you to be strong but weak also. I don't know.
But you won't have a real intimate, deep, vulnerable relationship. I'm a woman who seeks connection and vulnerability. I'm not into casualties or
See that? I seek connection and vulnerability. This whole vulnerability thing is all about just finding a chink in your emotional armor. That's what that is. The I want you to open up thing. No, like you have to work very hard to ever even see a piece of that. If I even feel like doing that. The whole vulnerable thing, that's really just so, you could just get the old knife in the back later on down the road. That's just not part of it. I'm sorry. I can't. What that mean? I think you mean Coach's sound effect. I love that sound effect. Welcome in, Max. I think this might be my first time sitting in here. Glad to have you in. High earning, low EQ, so basically a simp. Trevor, that's perfect right there. That's exactly. She's looking for the alpha simp, basically. She's looking for this guy who's accomplished on the football field, but then is going to simp to her at home. And she already tried to kind of, neg or devalue his accomplishments on the football field to kind of make him seem inept emotionally. You know what I mean? And like he needs to kind of defer to her on that. That's exactly what that is. That is a perfect deconstruction of this. This woman's personality makes her low functioning. Yeah, it doesn't make her more desirable in the marriage sense. Definitely not. This is the kind of woman that's going to need to have a pretty high dowry. If she wants to get married, she needs to come in and be like, hey, I got $500,000 that I'm willing to put in your hand in order to get this marriage going. And I don't even know if that's enough. But if a dowry was going to help anybody, I think it's this lady. Women always say they want that. They don't actually do. They definitely don't actually do. Because the minute you do that, it's just going to dissipate attraction, and my understanding is that, like, if they can't get that out of you, it makes them more attracted to you. And since they can't pull that out of you emotionally, they have to put their power on you another way, which typically is a physical way. And that's how it then gets expressed so that they can get that need filled. If you go in there and you just spill your guts out to them, that's it. They figured you out. The mystery's gone. The attraction's dissipated. Dancing with them is fun. Philosophizing with them is not something I want to do with my romantic partner. It's just best left either as an individual exercise or with other people.
Sex, just TMI or not, meaning I like the depth of things. And so I need you to see me. I need you to see my broken. I want you to see me.
I thought she was going to say something else because she was like, I need you to see. Will was seeing. He was like, ooh, I see.
My heart, whatever that comes with. And I'm not.
Mr. Pitt says she's saying she wants Russell Wilson without saying she wants Russell Wilson. Man, it just goes down to the cake and eat it too. I mean, the alpha simp.
I'm not embarrassed about it. I'll tell you about it. I'll show it to you. And I'm okay with a man who can facilitate it. But what a high functioning man may do is if he's all the way high functioning, he has already cut off the side of him that is authentic, and there's a superficialness there that won't allow him to connect with.
This is the craziest projection I've ever seen. She's literally diagnosing her. She's talking about herself, and she's going to try to put that on Cam Newton.
Real person. So can he still love and experience love? Yeah, love has it just loves everything. But will he experience the depth of some of the wholeness of love, meaning the down, the up, the ugly, the heaven, the hell mom was talking about? No. And let me say this really quick, and this is why.
See, she's saying that guy can't experience love, but all I'm hearing is a guy like that is finding a way to basically sidestep all the BS. It's basically like saying, well, love is suffering, and you got to basically be the alpha simp if you want to experience real love. Let me show you real love, but let me destroy you fully in the process. And that's love. the guy that she's gonna say is, you know, low functioning or whatever, that doesn't have this ability to do it, is just a guy who's just wise to when someone's trying to take advantage of them.
Trauma bonds usually feel like the most intense, in love, deepest relationships, because you got two at the epitome of vulnerability, pain pocket people who are bonding. And most people who are low functioning are exactly who they are. Exactly who they are. Doesn't make it bad for being who they are. Exactly who they are. That's their pain, their trauma. They gonna flee, they gonna scream, they gonna hit, they gonna do whatever comes up. Right? Fuck it, I'm mad. Whatever comes up, they there. There's no awareness, there's no stop, there's no nothing. I'm triggered, I'm inflamed, we just go to tear this thing up. Right? High functioning only means, Cam, that I feel them same feels. I still feel, excuse my language, you got me fucked up. I'm ready to go there. I'm flamed, I'm triggered. It's all there, right? But it's still dormant, it's still in me. And high functioning means I can regulate those emotions. Watch this, and say, okay, right now I'm ready to rip this man's head off. Right now he got me all the way fucked up. Okay, so how do I relay that message to him where it's gonna be respectful, it's gonna be non-combative, and I'm gonna disarm him? While he still knows, you got me fucked up. Because I don't have to say those words for you to know, I think I went too far with Doc.
Well, the answer might also be you're feeling effed up because of your own issues. And maybe you should look at why you're feeling that way instead of automatically assuming he's the reason for that. You know what I mean? So it kind of sounds like she's saying that a little bit, where it's like, I'm going to communicate that he's got me this way and I'm going to disarm him. Though at the same time, it's like maybe she just needs to work on herself and it's kind of independent of him to begin with. She is trying to Jordan Peterson her way into justifying women's logic. That's exactly what it sounds like. And I want to give her the benefit of the doubt where I can. But so far, her presentation and just this energy in the room is not really helping. I'm going to try to be open-minded a little bit more and see what... Can men truly understand love? Ooh, that looks like a good section. I might have to put it forward into some of this. How young is too young? Okay, yeah. If this stuff kind of drags on, I might just take us here into can men truly love? And that'll take us into interracial dating and are women's expectations too high? Followed by how young is too young? Is Cam Newton low functioning? You know what? Screw this. Let's just go straight into can men truly understand love? Oh shoot, is the thing working? It's loading.
Would come with me submitting.
There we go. Oh shoot, let's just skip back a few. She's talking about submitting. All right. Klaus says, she being non-combative, how? Yeah, exactly. Here we go.
That can benefit me as a payoff because I'm a professional who's high functioning.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it like I can nest and you move in, put my feet up, and now I can live free. Now, another woman, subjectively, could think that that's the value. But there's a payoff for why we do anything we do in life. We all have a pay, and it doesn't make it bad. That's life. It's always an exchange of, I will submit to these things that Cam wants because these are the things that I know would come with me submitting.
Ooh, I wonder what those things are. Maybe we skipped it, but you know, I don't think it was worth trudging through this when we got so much more interesting stuff coming up.
Yeah, but that's what goes back to the original statement.
Yes.
Will a man really understand true love? Because when you identify those things, it was how can I benefit from the situation? He had
Perfect. Yep. So, I mean, that sounds like what she's talking about. How can she benefit?
He has high status. I have high status.
Right.
I'm have a business. It matches that. So to my point, when I'm saying I can make a woman in regards to that, I see way too many times a high value man takes a low functioning woman or a low value woman and increase her status overnight.
And then she just dips out on them and ruins them.
Right. Now, it's still a process. It's still a level
Right.
of submission from both sides,
Right.
not just a female side,
Right.
but also the male side. And also, there's a patience that goes into that to be like, yo.
Wait, hold on. Depending on the negotiation, because some of that stuff, I'm saying could move fast because everyone's negotiation process is different. You know what I mean, Cam? Meaning if we coming in saying, okay, Cam, this is a strategic dating thing, we both know it, we gonna have this all planned out, we just gonna hit these points. Meaning that would come into fruition a lot sooner because we're clear on the plan. Versus if I came in without you knowing my plan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Cam, yeah, hey, it may be a little longer process, I agree.
Yeah.
But you keep saying the man thing, which I love, that will a man ever really experience true love?
Right.
My answer to that two-part answer, one, I'm not a man.
Right.
And I believe that a woman should stay in her place when it comes to answering men's question from a place of being the source and instead say my
I could give her a little bit of credit for that. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that.
opinion. Just like I think a man also should stay in his place when answering questions about us, because y'all not us, you don't know. But you can say, in my opinion, in my experience, or what I think. So I would hope that men could experience real love. However, I believe that it would take...
Since this conversation has gone on, our poll for if you believe in true love, it's now no at 67%. So I don't know. I mean, if you know, it's not looking good out there for true love. And I mean, I think this conversation has probably only made that worse.
Take more than a high functionality. It would take more than high valueness. It would take more than being able to come in and, you know, make a woman or make a man, whoever we want them to be. Being in love and feeling and experiencing that fully is more about how open and vulnerable we have already allowed ourselves to be with ourselves.
Right.
Right? So meaning I receive love from you at the level of receptivity I already am when I come and meeting you. Whether it's friendship, business, romantic, you can't love me deeper than I love myself.
She sort of reminds me of Kamala Harris. You know, I think you're right. Like, I can just think of a few Kamala Harris like clips that I've seen where they'll ask her a question and she will just kind of meander her way out of it, and it's always kind of funny.
Word that better. You can feel the love deeper for me than I love myself. I won't receive it and feel it past the level that I love myself.
Yes, ma'am.
So where the disconnect comes out, not with us, but with people, is you telling me like, you know, Doc, like I love you with everything. Like I'm giving you the world. Like no, I'm loving you like I've never loved any. Like, and if I'm unlovable and I haven't worked through my stuff, and I don't have the awareness to say, but baby, it ain't your love that is the issue. It's my ability to receive it and be topped off. Now, if I said that to you as my partner, which is that emotional intelligence just means I understand myself and I'm able to articulate who I am, in most cases, that would make you love me more and have a better understanding and try to help me, I would think, figure out how to get those barriers, right?
I would love him to ask her about, like, let's say we have children and something happens with the kid, you know, and I want to do this and you want to do that, and whatever the scenario is, and we both disagree. How do we go about high functioning our way past that problem? Like, I wonder how she would answer that.
Barrier so that you can just, I could receive your love.
Right.
And then in return, I'm able to reciprocate it at a deeper level for you, because this is the thing, if you're already loving me deeper than I can feel, that means that your love tank is already...
She really reminds me of Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, and she has that like red table talk. And this definitely seems like that kind of content. But like the truth is like this kind of stuff and this kind of content, it resonates with a lot of women. Like, I think women hear this stuff and they're just like, absolutely, this makes complete sense. Where we're looking at this and we're just like, I don't even know what the hell she's saying.
Deeper. That means you're a gallon and I'm a pint. So if you're a gallon, right, poured everything into my pint,
it's gonna overflow.
It's gonna overflow, and and even though it's amazing, right, I can't. It's overwhelming for me, Cam. I can't take it.
I've seen that analogy,
right,
and I received that. But
right.
to even make it more clear cut, what I mean by a man not having or not really identifying true love,
yeah,
is because men's love is almost predicated on transaction
versus relational.
versus
Max says, word salad. Also, hasn't high functioning always meant being able to function despite serious adversity, i.e. not entirely positive? I've only ever heard it spoken in terms of like something like on the spectrum, whether it's like the autistic spectrum, like, oh, he's a high functioning autistic individual or something like that. So yeah, I think you're actually right. Like, I think that's correct. High functioning typically is a term used with someone who's already has perhaps some kind of, mental health thing going on or neurological condition, basically. And high functioning just means that they live with that, but they're also able to manage and live a relatively full life. That's a good point. That's a good point. If she's using high functioning, I think in the sense that's more like, well, are you a high functioning adult or something? It's hard to even know what
emotions.
she means.
Yeah, which
you
is
see what I'm saying?
emotional.
Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
unlock these things
Yeah.
when there is a transaction here where it's like, okay, even if I'm low functioning, what picks up my slack is the ability to be high value.
There you go.
And then, which goes back to my point, to a woman won't do that for a man. And that's just the reality.
Won't do what part?
Ooh, that sounds like it's going to be interesting. Mr. Pitt says, only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A man is only loved under the condition that he provides something. Chris Rock. Oh, God, yeah, I love that quote. And I mean, unfortunately, in today's society, that's what it is. There's so many stories about a guy, like whether he cried or he lost his job or something, and like this just everything just goes bad after that. The relationship just ends. Also, I love Chris Rock. I had the absolute pleasure and privilege to be able to see Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock at the same time. They came to Sacramento. I think this was like a year ago. I still have the little mask that they gave. And Chris Rock went first, and it was hilarious. I've always loved Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle too. Dave Chappelle went after, but I love Dave Chappelle, but Chris Rock was so much funnier that night, and it was beautiful.
She won't go to the depths of understanding, like, yo, even though I have a high functioning man,
Okay.
if he doesn't provide value, then that function will run its course. Because if
That's the interesting thing. Literally, that Mr. Pitt, that was your quote right there. Even though he's high functioning, but he doesn't, provide these practical things, and this is stuff that we've seen also. So, only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A man is only loved under the condition that he provides something. And if that's the case, then high functioning in the man's case means being, proficient and being able to do that, which might be where he's leading her to. So it's an interesting thing to discuss, you know what I mean, versus high functioning. And, I guess he's trying to delineate, like, the way it applies to women, at least in her sense, is high functioning in, this emotional thing. But for men, it's different. But then it could also be different in women, too. I mean, women that are high functioning in beauty or something like that. So I guess I still got to admit, I don't know where it's going. Yo, Trevor, thank you so much for the donation and for the support of the channel. Real love. When couples mutually benefit from each other's presence. That takes work to maintain, and if the benefit gap widens, the love deteriorates. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and it's one that's unfair if I don't try to answer that. I mean, but it definitely just seems like no matter what, whether you call it real love or not, I mean, those two aspects of that marriage or relationship or whatever are working together to keep something good going. How about that? They're working together to keep something good going. Typically, it's the family, it's the kids, it's the household running, and just making sure, the family is taken care of in whatever way that they can help out to provide. Mr. Pitt, I think it was you that recommended I look at Proverbs 31. I'll see if I can bring that up again. Just because I found something interesting in there in terms of, like, when it comes to discussing a virtuous woman, it didn't shy away from saying that, like, a woman works basically, and maybe even contributes in that way. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. There was another one in there. I think there was another one. Darn it. I don't want to, read the whole thing to you guys. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. You know what I mean? So it's like, it just kind of had me thinking again that like this whole, the man provides all the money and this kind of stuff. Yet again, right there, even biblically speaking, there's precedent for women actively participating in income generation for the household, So interesting in its own way. Max can't confirm I have high functioning autism. The terminology here doesn't match. Yeah. And so, and she just seems to be taking these psychology terms and just kind of doing whatever she wants with them all of the time. And it just seems like she does that with a lot of things. Yeah, I recommended it after you asked for a biblical definition of a virtuous woman. Yeah. And I appreciate you giving me that, because that's a good piece of information to know. Yeah, the virtuous woman can work, but everything she does is for the benefit of the household. Exactly. Yeah. Because you guys are working to keep something good going, right? And, that's the important thing, right? And all this talk of relationship they've been having, like they haven't even discussed what most people, I guess, kind of want to do in a marriage, which is have kids and raise the family. So far, it's just about this mystical concept of the love between the man and the woman. And it's just like, back when families, men and women stayed together, I mean, they were getting married pretty early on and having kids. I don't even know if this was a thing that was ever discussed, so it seems like another just pitfall of romantic chivalry, frankly.
Dealing with a high function and a high value woman, as we've identified her to be, those things will then need that matched. And more times than not saying that it's not capable or incapable of happening, these things have a deadline where it's like, okay, what are we really doing?
But I also, that goes to my point of saying that pain needs things, trauma needs things, healing wants. So when you have a woman who is healed and ain't perfect, okay, not perfect, just healed, done the work, she would be able to sustain any relationship that she's in with another human, regardless of where they are functionality, value-wise, who is also just willing to sustain it, because she doesn't need him to do anything. She knows how to attach to the things that she wants in him. And from the beginning of meeting him, before we got to being married and being intimate, I've already identified, I want that, and that in you. We're talking about now, not tangible.
See, what's funny is that he asked her early on in the interview, what is it that you see in others or whatever that you'd want, especially after getting rid of this fairy tale. She's kind of saying now, like, oh, even before we got married, I've already identified I want that, and that. So what is that? What are those things that she would identify?
I want these things in you.
What are those things?
5-hour conversations we have all night after I've seen clients for 12 hours. Baby, that recharges me to get up and kill the day. That's more important to me. I'm just speaking, maybe it's not me, but that's important to me.
Damn, could you imagine going to work all day and then she wanting to have a 5-hour conversation with you that's like this, and you're just like, I had a long ass day at work and I'm just trying to eat dinner and maybe drink a cup of some of my favorite herbal tea here and just watch, a little bit of YouTube and, hang out with the kids, whatever, help them with their homework or something. But instead, she needs 5 hours of conversation.
When I come home and I'm able just to lay up under you and you're funny.
You're in bed and you think that you're going to have, a little bit of fun, you know what I mean? Just to get you recharged. And she needs 5 hours of conversation prior to that. Trevor says, hey, Shah, I arrived an hour late. Did you mention earlier you did the interview with Professor Baskerville? Yeah, I did. I recorded the interview with him today, and I'm going to be posting it tomorrow around noon time. I just want to look over it one more time, and I might just add some images of his book and a certain part where it was mentioned in the interview. it is perfectly fine now. I can't upload it. I do have the thumbnail done, but I knew I was going to stream today, and I didn't want to put two pieces of content, especially I feel like it would be distracting. So it will be uploaded tomorrow. And the interview, I had a fantastic time talking to him. So I really hope that translates into it being an enjoyable conversation for you guys to watch. I really do also hope that it does get a little bit of traction. I think it was a very important conversation. I did ask some viewer questions also towards the end. Overall, yeah, we both, enjoyed our conversation, and I think you guys are going to like it. So it's coming soon. It's coming soon.
As hell and start joking, and I wasn't in no mood to joke, but you light me up. That's what I want in you. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. And so my healed part is picking the parts that are
See, and like this is going to be the thing. It's like, well, a high functioning woman, like you got to get her in the mood and do all this stuff. And if a woman's just giving it up to you, it's not because, she likes you. It has to be because she's low functioning. It has to be because she doesn't know better. And then the trauma bonds. And that's why the sex is good. You know what I mean? It's not because you guys just have a good relationship.
now feeding the healed in me. So I don't really need you.
God, she's describing what is basically a succubus, feeding the healed in me. How about you just do your own healing and feed yourself a little bit?
To do anything outside of the functionality that I'm wanting from you. Now, when you come in and say,
that functionality is a 5-hour conversation.
Say to you, baby, I want to go to Bora Bora, and you say, Daddy can't afford that, right? Do I turn and say, you ain't daddy? Hold on. Or do I do like Monique does with her husband and still call you daddy? Now, if
what she should do, especially if she's going to maintain working and having her own business, is say, it's all right, baby, I'll pay for that trip this time. Don't even trip. I got it. Easy.
If you're asking me, subjective, well, whoever I choose, wherever he is, high or low or medium value, I hope he's a hybrid like myself, he's daddy.
A hybrid. Trevor, this goes back to what you said, wanting a cake and eat it too. I also, being daddy, her calling him daddy puts her in the position of being the little girl, right? Daddy's supposed to be the provider in all these kinds of things. I mean, she's, I guess, using it in a way that's supposed to make him feel better, but at the same time, with the type of woman she is, those things are kind of an oxymoron together.
And I love him. And I'm choosing from a place of being healed now, so I'm choosing what I know that I want long-term and not need for the season that my pain is in. Mm-hmm. See, I chose my ex-fiancés based on what the abandoned young woman needed in that season. I had no idea what I wanted. Healing introduces you to what you want. Pain and trauma eclipse what you want. It's always there, eclipse that. So as a woman now, do I want a man who is high functioning and high value and all those things? I mean, that would be great, but if I met a man who had what I wanted, not because I don't need it, but what I wanted, would I treat him any different?
It's almost like that's why marriage just doesn't work today, almost. I want to meet a man that has what I want, not a man that has what I need. And, maybe back then marriage was based more off man and woman needing each other. Where now, thanks to whatever kind of economy we live in and the way we live and the way our culture is, it's just about, what they want from each other, which ironically, she's talking about shedding this sort of fairy tale conditioning. But if it's just about what you want instead of what you need, I think that plays right back into the fairy tale conditioning. Trevor says, also, don't forget to hit the like button on this stream and the interview when it's uploaded. Yes, absolutely, please. And especially for the interview, I would really appreciate the support on that. I would love for that interview to just, get seen by a lot of folks. I think what I should also do is go back in there and maybe make some shorter clips of certain aspects of our conversation, and just try to post those as well. But I'm going to post the full interview, just, give it a little bit of time, see how it does, and then I'll probably go back in and post some of the shorter clips. I am still trying to think of a title. I don't want it to be clickbaity, but I do want it to be something that people will click on, you know what I mean? I can, you know what I'll do? I'm going to share the thumbnail that I got so far. Maybe you guys can, I think it's as good as I'm probably able to get it myself with my current skills. Oops, that's the thumbnail. Those are not the finished thumbnails. Here we go, Baskerville. So here is here's the thumbnail. Oops. And Professor Baskerville, Who Lost America? That's the name of his book, Who Lost America. And I do want to put that in there because I know he just wrote this book, so I do want people to see it. I'm going to put the Amazon link for his book in the description of that video. But then I'm trying to think of like a separate title, you know, that will help. Oh my God. Oh, thank God. I couldn't figure out how to exit that screen. So anyways, Ganged Up. Hey, welcome in, Ganged Up. Good to see you in here. Want to get rid, let's see. Want to get rid of broken homes, abolish child support. People are not property. Absolutely. And, you know, that's a lot of what I discussed with Professor Baskerville today. We discussed the child support system at length. And I got his opinion on it, which is very interesting, especially since, you know, he comes from an older generation. So he's been able to see this whole thing manifest. But yes, child support, and I can say this with all confidence, child support 100% contributes to breaking up families. We literally have academics that point this out also.
Than a man who's a billionaire, I'm going to treat him better, because it's not because I have money and I don't need the money. I'm saying that when you think of long...
If you got money, you can be able to pay that trip to Bora Bora. Whoa, there was another attempt on Trump. Yikes. No way. Let me just pull this up right now. That's ridiculous. Sorry, I'm just pulling up news. Arlington Cemetery controversy. If you got a news article, please put it in there. Trump attempt assassination. It's probably just breaking. I'm not seeing anything on news here, so maybe it's not as crazy as we think, but we'll see as it comes in. That'll be a developing situation. To abolish child support, you also need to abolish welfare. Otherwise, the government cannot afford it. That's the thing. Or if they're going to have welfare, what they'll end up doing is expanding basically taxes, right? If they're not going to get it through child support, what they will do is expand taxes and get it from our paychecks that way. So.
Longevity. Okay, this is the problem.
Let's just hear what she's got to say about interracial dating, then we'll get into.
Move this discussion right along. Curious
Thank you,
to know,
sir.
have you ever dated outside your race?
I have.
Okay.
Okay, she was taking a little long to think about that, but okay, whatever. You know, it wasn't that long. I was a little weird. Ganged Up says welfare and child support not the same in any way. I will say, Ganged Up, just to clarify, child support is the enforcement arm of welfare, and the federal child support system was created as a direct response to an increase in welfare rolls. So they definitely are, programs that are very much related to each other. All right, let's go in here.
Could you, for the people in the audience who's watching this or will watch this, could you date outside your race?
I could.
They tased the guy, apparently. I see. Okay, I'm going to read more into that. Gosh, I hope it's something that wasn't as serious, but if it's serious, then it's just, that is not looking good.
Okay. Now, is that something that, are you open?
Child support pays back TANF. Yep, that's temporary assistance to needy families, and that is the current manifestation of welfare. Here we go.
In regards to manifestation, listen, God, just bring him to me. I mean, good hair, nappy hair. I mean, European hair, Wakanda hair. It don't matter. I need my hubby.
Dominican hair. Yes, I am very obedient to God's will first, and God has the permission to open.
See, this kind of goes into kind of what some of the stuff, the issue with like TradCons or some of the discussions and the stuff we've listened to on past streams, right? Because she's fundamentally interpreting God's will to basically whatever she wants it to be. At least it kind of seems that way in this conversation. And it's just a way of sort of not having to submit to her husband because it's this ultimate trump card. Non-parent has access to welfare. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I think you mean someone without a child can get it. They can. It's heavily limited. I mean, like we got GA here in California, general assistance, and it typically will last like 3 months. You can get like Medi-Cal and stuff like that. I think even food stamps, but actual cash assistance, for the most part, it will time out after a certain amount of time. And TANF specifically means temporary assistance for needy families. And even with children, the moms will time out after 2 years of being on it.
Right, any silly decisions I make, okay, to bring me his will. However, and I'm open to dating outside my race.
Right.
If I
She says she had already dated
can
outside.
have it my
so that's
way, right? And it's something that I'm choosing from. I love my black men, and so I wouldn't be choosing outside of my race. How can I say it? Because black men weren't my priority. It would be, again, an organic. It happened. This man happened to be long-term, meeting wants, and this is just what, in my spirit, God says this is what I have for you, and him too would.
Okay, it's the Trump story. Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Police said Saturday that a man will face misdemeanor charges. Okay, misdemeanor charges, not a felony. After he stormed into the press area at Donald Trump's rally before being surrounded by authorities and eventually subdued with the taser. Okay, as the former president spoke at the campaign stop. Okay, so seems like someone tried to run in there. It doesn't appear that they were armed. Sounds like a Secret Service or a police officer, someone who had a taser, tased him. That's what I'm getting from that. He was subdued with the taser. Okay, so no shots were fired. I'm not sure if you're seeing in there, Trevor, if he actually had a weapon or anything like that. All right, let's just get into our women's expectations too high.
Things. I don't think there's a big difference to me in white or black when it comes to your penis.
This is my point that I was saying, and we're kind of taking a
that's what I
step
said.
back to Euro step to try to score.
Right.
Now, I'm having a hard time to believe a very educated, a very attractive woman out of 41 years.
Here we go.
Have not met Mr. Right.
See, and that's the question. I think that's the question that's going to drive most at her insecurity. So we'll see where this goes. It might be pretty contentious.
That's enough time to find a lot of things out.
I bet.
And yet,
and it's like, okay, again, if she's not married at 41, that's fine. But it might just take admitting that, hey, I just think it's not for me. It's something I've tried and I failed at. And that's where I am. You know what I mean? I'm open to it. So far, it hasn't worked out for me. And, that's probably because of the type of person I am. Could also be because family law has destroyed so many families and eroded much of the trust that men have in women. And I am now inheriting a corrupt system that has made it harder for me to get married. Ganged Up says, glad you're talking about child support system and shining a light on it, Shah. Thank you. Oh, man, I appreciate that. I really do. Shout out to you, man. When I used to work at child support, I found that I came across so many men across my desk, on the other side of my desk, who just did not know how the system worked until it was too late. But by the time they found out how the system worked, which was me explaining it to them, it was done. Like, there was just nothing they can do. And I just firmly believe in at least giving men the knowledge to be able to navigate this. Even if we can't change the system, I hope we can. I hope we can make a more fair and equitable system so we all don't have to be experts in this. But I hated just seeing a young guy with his whole life ahead of him, even an older gentleman who worked hard, just end up just being fleeced by that system, and they just didn't understand it. And then when I told it to them, there's just like this realization of how badly they got screwed over. So, I appreciate you saying that. That makes me feel good, and it really gives me more motivation. I really do think you'll enjoy the interview that I'm posting tomorrow with my discussion with Stephen Baskerville. There was some nuggets I did drop in there of some very specific stuff that you might find interesting. Mr. Pitt says she was probably slow to answer the question about dating outside of her race because a lot of black women, her constituents, seem to think racial fidelity is important. That's an interesting point too. That is interesting. Yeah. I mean, if a lot of her fans or a lot of the people that she mentors or life coaches, maybe are African-American women, yeah, maybe they won't like that. So that's a good point. So she just doesn't, she wants to probably downplay it a bit. Robert Spencer, presumed income is going away. There's some good news. I did hear about that. I heard that it's going to be, they're going to get rid of presumed income, but they will be able to look at past income going prior to a year, which is kind of interesting to me. So I wonder how that will work. If you had like one high paying job and then, years later you've been working something that made less money, will they be able to go back 10 years and say, well, you made this back then. We want a base guideline off that. I also know that defaults, they're going to, I guess, step away from defaults and have it sent into court. I don't really buy that one too much. I think that one might end up just being that it's just a default with extra steps. Like they might say, okay, send it back. They'll do another case review. If they can't find more information, then eventually they'll just sign it through. But that will be interesting to see. That will be interesting. There will be a hearing at every default. Yeah, that and that's what I heard. So that'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out. I would, please keep me updated on that. I would greatly appreciate that. Excellent. We'll do my best to listen in tomorrow. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No kids,
Mm-hmm.
single.
Mm-hmm.
No kids,
I'm
single.
not, but I am saying, are women's expectations unrealistic?
No, I'm going to say, like I said on Nick, the question shouldn't be why isn't a woman of age, of success, of a certain caliber not married with kids? The question should be why are people rushing to the altar just to become divorcees or baby
See that? She didn't want to answer the question, so she had to introduce her own question she'd rather
mamas
answer.
and baby daddies? I think if anything, we need to be teaching our society,
I mean, and the answer to that is why people are rushing to the altar. I mean, I don't want to have to blame women, but, who generally puts pressure on guys to get married? It's typically, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it's typically the woman who's just like, where's this going? What do you want? I'm looking for something serious. And then it ends up in a marriage. And then who then is also filing the divorces and ending the relationship? You know what I mean? It's probably it is also the women. So her question is, why are we rushing to the altar and then getting divorced to end up as single women and baby mamas? Well, that's more a question that can require some introspection on that side of the fence. You know what I mean?
your time, young man or young woman, so that you can get to know not just this person, but yourself first, so that you
Especially when they're rushing you to the altar when they're at age 27.
can choose a life partner, not that that person isn't exempt to divorce, instead of rushing to the altar just to become a divorcee or a baby mama and have multiple kids by multiple women, just to say you have broken families everywhere. I don't see no benefit in that. I believe, like I tell my brother, he's in here, Shane, all the time, and who's 31 with no kids.
I can give her credit. Listen, if she in herself thinks that, like, hey, I'm not going to do good in a relationship, it's probably going to end earlier than I'd want it to or than the other person would want it to, so I'm just going to avoid this and I'm going to say no. I can give her credit for that. I can give her credit for avoiding that pain. You know, I do want to be charitable to her. We'll definitely keep you updated. Thank you so much, Robert. And that's valuable to me. It really is. So I appreciate that.
And doing well for himself, take your time. You don't need to rush to an altar just to divorce this woman. And another thing is people who actually feel high valued within themselves, not financially, internally they feel high valued. They're not rushing to have a wife or a husband at the expense of divorce just to feel like they've added value to themselves.
That can apply to MGTOW guys, you know, or just guys who are just kind of not wanting to get married. Like, yeah, okay, if you're content with yourself, and maybe there isn't any point in rushing to marriage just to kind of satisfy the pressure society puts on you. That can apply to us guys too. Not wrong, I guess. You're touching a core branch on what the world today is crushing with the largest names in history. Stay strong. Keep sharing. The world is watching and listening. Cheers. Man, I give another shout out to you, man. I appreciate that. Honestly, I really do appreciate the good feedback. It makes me feel better, man, honestly. And I'm glad some folks are actually able to hear it and understand a bit. I know it can be a little convoluted and complex. And sometimes I try to make sure I have to try to explain it in a way more people are going to understand. But I'm just going to keep trying to do it. And, you know, man, if we're lucky, we get some improvements to the system and things end up better. If not for us, at least those who come after us. Trevor says, why don't they make child support alimony payments based on a similar system to tax brackets? Also, if your income drops more than presumed, you can deduct next year's payment. That's an interesting question. I mean, you know, right now what we have is the guidelines, and the guidelines are set by the state. And the state sets the guidelines to be in compliance with the federal child support program, which then determines how much welfare dollars the state will get. So, you know, there is this kind of graded thing. Now, whether or not that's fair or not is a different question. But, you know, I would personally like to see caps on child support, at least in the sense of like, especially if you're not a family that is on welfare, you're middle class, you're upper class. If someone wants to leave you in a no-fault divorce, I don't think they should get this high payout. I think they should get just enough that is whatever the average living standard is. You know, they don't get to walk away with the lifestyle. But that's an interesting idea there. Robert says they actually do, Trevor. It's called the K value. Yeah, so the K value, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but so if you look at like California Family Law Code, it describes how the guideline calculator actually works in the background. So when you punch the numbers into this thing and it spits out a number, it's giving you the formula. The K value is one of the values in there, and I don't want to butcher this right now. I do want to look at the Family Law Code again, but that is a value that kind of is measured based off of, you know, income bracket, you can say, loosely. They actually just changed it effective July. Lower income folks pay less. Unfortunately, richer folks now pay more. Yeah, oh God. I talked about something very on target with this in the Baskerville interview. And I'll just save it for the interview, Robert, but I have a lot to say about that. You know, and again, hey, listen, I'm all for helping out the poor. I am. Anything that makes their lives easier is fine, especially men who are being taken advantage of by the system. But what annoys me is you have a system that's fundamentally created for welfare, and it's now affects people's lives who have nothing to do with welfare. And this is just kind of one example of that. But, you know, moving on. Let's see what... We'll watch this for a little bit more, and then we'll look at the comments. I mean, I think we get it.
Because it's a deficit if you're marrying for the wrong purposes. It is an asset if you're marrying from a place of creating a family, of creating stability, of raising.
Another thing, Robert, is like, isn't it crazy? It's like we have this system set up that incentivizes men to not be successful. It makes you want to make less money because you will be punished less. And it's like if you do the right thing, you try to make as much as you can to provide. Once you hit this system, it's like you're punished more. And for what? You trying to be a productive citizen? Sorry, I said I'd leave that for the interview tomorrow. For me, it's not about the money. It's about the system. Absolutely. There's just so many injustices
Kids
there. And that's a good point, too.
Who can see this thing move and this house not be homeless, but this house have wealth in it, the real wealth that actually sustains. And so for me, I'd rather take my time choosing than end
the
up...
real wealth. Well, you know, again, if she's going to be working, she should be bringing some tangible wealth into that household.
doing time because I'm making wrong decisions. I'm good.
Say less. Next question.
Say less. He hit her back with the next question. It sounds like a kind of tit for tat of what happened earlier if you guys are watching.
How young are you willing to go?
Ooh, I love that. See, now this is when the conversation gets good.
Come on now. We want to know that.
I'm gonna.
You're an hour and 35 minutes into this conversation.
Like, look, I told you now.
Listen. Hold on.
Come on.
What?
'Cause
you going or I'm going? Who going first?
You. I mean, you're the guest.
So I'm willing to, I think Ugh, late 20s, mid.
Men, this is where you turn the TV all the way up. Go ahead.
Late 20s
Okay.
would be the youngest. However,
We got to put a number on that, though. Like you, 27, 26.
So she's willing to, I guess, I ostensibly get married to someone who's late 20s.
27-ish.
Exes.
But
Okay.
again, it depends
Interesting.
on the maturity level of that man.
But this is where, I'm glad you said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
I
this
knew.
is where
I baited you. I knew where we were going.
your patience has
Be there.
to give him the
100%.
patience to bring his value
Yeah.
or his function up to his
100%.
value.
100%.
Right.
100%.
But
100%.
so
She's too old for me, and I'm 17 years her senior. Hey, you know, I mean, a man's as young as, you know, I guess the woman that he's with. If you can get a nice 25-year-old, awesome. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. Great. Guess who is in the house? Yo, Michael, welcome in. Michael, I appreciate seeing you. And Michael and I have been communicating through the email. That's another thing I should do a better job of letting you guys know about is my email. And if you guys ever want to send if you guys ever want to send I don't know, stuff that you see or stories or whatever stuff you want me to talk about, you can always just send it directly to the email. I should make that more prominent on the channel so people see that. But yeah, Michael has been really just helping me understand some things here. He's got some great research done into contract law and a lot of that stuff. Michael also pointed something else out to me that I didn't realize while I was doing the dowry video. We technically still have a pseudo dowry that exists, more so a bride price or a dower. And it's in the form of the engagement ring. You know how they always say like the engagement ring should be like this many months of your salary as a guy? That is the modern day pseudo bride price that we have to give to women, even in our times nowadays. And I didn't realize that while I was doing the research. And when he pointed it out to me, I was like, wow, oh my God. What is women and the number 7? Yeah, kind of. Oops, I meant 7. I must have missed that. Just the email for the folks. Arthur says, what up, Shah? Yo, welcome in. Pleasure to have you here, Arthur. Thanks for coming back. You love the dowry. Yeah, it's my new like recent obsession, and I can't stop reading about it. Only because it's been such an integral part of marriage for most of human history. And it's, you know, I know it's maybe unrealistic to say let's bring it back, but for me, it's trying to learn about what were all the aspects of marriage and all the pieces that went into a marriage back then, and where have they gone? Should some of those aspects possibly have some form today? And you know, what's the best way of kind of going about it, especially as we try to ideally, you know, hopefully maybe even repair it.
So now,
Unless society and culture is past marriage now.
100%
Yeah,
this too.
100%.
A woman
Yeah.
who has high value will not entertain or be patient with a guy that does not have
Yeah, especially if she has certain
100%.
100%.
100%.
She will.
That's-
Especially if she has certain especially if she has certain criterions that she knows most men of her age won't meet.
that's what I'm
Yes,
trying.
she has to.
So therefore, I'm telling you,
If
a
that's what
man
she
of high
wants, she has
value
to.
it's a transactional type of thing. So to your point, it's like, I know, I look at you, I look at women all the time. I have a beautiful establishment that we're in right now.
Right.
Fellowship. It garners a consumer that's about their business. This is
Absolutely.
not hookah smoking and standing on couches
Right.
and, you know,
Twerking and
section.
doing
No,
the
no, no,
most,
it's
right.
not that.
Right.
This is sugar daddy's addy in here. This is businesswoman. No, you need to, we need to get this on right. I
Lord.
see it happen
Yeah.
so many times.
Wow.
Dress code. You're not coming in here with Jordans and flip-flops. Like you can't do that. You
Right.
can't disrespect the altitude.
Yeah, the culture of what's here.
You see what I'm
100%.
saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
with that, I know and I understand a lot of people see my situation and not think that I'm not high function.
What situation?
see my situation. That's a very vague question, and it's for you
What
to even-
situation are you referring to that they're looking at and thinking is not high function?
Just my life.
Your life entirely, or your life in
My
relationships?
life, my life, my life.
See, don't deflect. Let's stay here. Your life entirely, or your life in relationships?
Both, really.
And they think that you're low functioning.
No, I don't.
You just said people see your life and think you're not high functioning. The opposite of that would be low functioning.
No. Okay, so here you go. You're trying.
This is the part that I've seen, that I saw on the MTR stream. So we're going to get through this, and then we'll look at the comments. I won't go far past this. I know it's kind of been a little bit. But this is what kind of interested me in the conversation in the first place.
And to take my intentions away from this is can I correct it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or can I give you more?
Yes, more information. Heck yeah.
So, I'm not married, right? I have.
Because he's smart and he did not sign that contract. Good for you, Cam Newton. You successful athlete. You know, he's built a lot for himself. Why do that?
Beautiful children.
How many?
8.
8 children. Hey, good for him. Good for him. You know what I mean? Where's my applause button at? Yep. Didn't get suckered into the marriage. You know, and let's see how she feels about that. Sorry. Real quick for Michael Saiyan kind of reminds me of a Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if you've ever watched that show before. Super Saiyan. Michael Saiyan says, the wedding ring, which came into use in Jewish circles. Oh, that's interesting. See, I didn't. In Jewish circles, probably in the medieval period, carries a certain minimal monetary value, which means it can be used for a bride price. Interesting. By giving his beloved a ring, the husband effectively gives her the monetary sum required to make her his bride. Interesting. And gosh, see, I feel like there's a story there. There's a history there that can help us understand this better, because then think about like what the wedding ring industry is and how it began and how we're bombarded with these advertisements of rings, and when that became normal in the culture, because it sounds like maybe it came out of their culture and kind of became popular with everybody else. But if people were getting dowries for the most part in the West, it seems like this is an aspect of their culture that seems to have taken over and changed dowry into bride price, where prior it was dowry. So that's fascinating. I appreciate you sharing all that with me, honestly.
I didn't do my research. I thought it was 4, but 8. Okay.
No, baby.
Cool.
It's
By how
8.
many women?
3. And this is
So he's got 3 women with 8 kids. So I mean, this is a little bit of a dunk on her at this point, and I feel she's gonna have to come back and say something like, "Oh, well, like there's gonna have to be something wrong with it, right? Like even though this man's happy and he's okay and everybody's happy with it, there's gonna have to be something wrong with it." We got more knowledge coming in from Michael here. In 1477, Archduke Maximilian of Austria commissioned the very first diamond engagement ring on record for his betrothed, Mary of Burgundy. This sparked a trend for diamond rings among Europeans. That's interesting. I love getting the history on this stuff. I don't know what it is. I become a nerd about this kind of stuff, and sometimes when I get obsessed, like I just have to go down a rabbit hole. Aristocracy and nobility, and that would make sense. And then the other classes, especially as you got probably industrialization and you started getting class mobility, the new merchant class or whoever was coming up that weren't nobility probably saw what the nobility was doing and they wanted to be like them. So they're like, we can do wedding rings now too.
the kicker. I want more. Now,
By multiple women? What's the intent
I
of
just
this
want
and
God
about
to
your
bring
wife?
it. I just want God
It's so
to.
funny. He's answering her with the same stuff she was saying earlier. Oh, I just want God, whatever husband God brings me. And now she's like, well, now she's questioning him like he was questioning her, and he's giving her the same answer that she was giving him. Oh, well, whatever God brings me. It's actually pretty funny. I didn't see the beginning part of this when I watched MTRs. So that's interesting.
Bring him.
Oh, okay. And you have, so you just.
Because
bring-
my
okay.
point is this. My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce.
That, frankly, is most men nowadays. I mean, that is MGTOW summed up right there.
So, as you would say it, Dr. Bryant, you said it, I didn't say it, I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
See, there has to be something wrong with it. And that's literally what she's doing.
You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time. You're being very action-based.
I'm taking my time.
You're being very action-based. You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active, okay? So you're creating, and disclaimer, the kids are...
Yo, Mark, welcome in, brother. Good to see you in here. Big shout out to Mark. Curious if Cam Newton cuts the hole in his hat himself or if it comes like that already. Gosh, I mean, that hat looks like, I don't know much about hats, but if it's Cam Newton, my guess is it's probably like a $2,000 hat or something. All right, now let's see what's wrong with Cam Newton's lifestyle, according to Dr. Bryant here.
Innocent, they are beautiful and amazing. Anything I say has nothing to do with them babies, because I can't wait to be a mom, and I love.
See, so she had to put the disclaimer out here. I'm not talking bad about your babies, which is just a prerequisite, or it's just like, it's a preview for how she's about to try to dunk on him and say his lifestyle is bad.
Of the kids, period. But you are proactively choosing where you want to be active at and where you want to take your time. You want to take your time in having a wife because of your own fears. But you will, and I say this with all respect and love, what I'm about to say next, okay, Cam? But you will selfishly create broken families, even if you're in their life and you're...
See, listen, this guy, he's an NFL player, very successful. Are they truly broken families if that's the arrangement he has with them? Is he taking care of his kids? That's really the question that should be asked. Is he taking care of his families? I think he is. And if he is that a broken family? But she's going to have to call it that. Like, that's not the same thing as a broken family that we see running through child support. She's not going to be a mom. It's too late. Yeah, I mean, there'd have to be some IVF treatments there to possibly make that happen.
Proactive father, and I believe you're an amazing daddy. I can only imagine with...
I do hear IVF treatment, from what I've read, it's not easy. Even that, like, and it costs a lot of money, and some of them will end up needing to do like 3 or 4 rounds of it. So, you know, very slim chance.
Just your presence and
Maybe
knowing
though.
you thus far. But these families are still broken. Every child cannot have Papa in the house with them. So some child, if not all, will end up with some kind of deficit without daddy being there.
See, she's just going to have to confront that, like, he's managed to find a host of other women that just give him way more that he actually wants himself than she can ever provide a guy like him. Because she's going to want a guy like this to literally cater to everything. Every second of his free time is going to have to go to whatever her fantasy is. You know what I mean? And that's, it's just not going to work for him. I think it was Trevor who said it earlier. She's looking for a simp. She's looking for a simp. That's just really what it is, you know. Polygamy is in the Bible. Yeah, and, you know, okay, and I get that. If you got, you know, like, let's say people are Christian or whatever, and monogamy's the thing, fine, you know what I mean? But outside of that, just as far as, like, he's not doing anything, like, illegal, you know what I'm saying? And I learned this from child support. Like, this is an option a man can take, you know? It's not like back in the day where you can't get... He's not married to more than to even one person, so he's choosing to do it this way. There's obviously, I think they called it bigamy. I can't remember what the word is, but if you try to get legally married to more than one person, you can't do that. But yeah, polygamy is in the Bible. I just look at it more so as it's an option. Like, he's not doing anything illegal, at least from our current understanding of that. Back in the day, you know, maybe 100 years ago, that could be considered that. So having children by multiple women at the same time does not mean a broken family necessarily. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say, especially if he's there. She's insinuating that those kids are not getting their father in their life, which is her desperately grasping at straws to make him look bad. That's bad. That's terrible, you know. I used to work the high-profile cases involving football players. Those kids aren't hurting for anything. Yeah, exactly. Or the rap, you know, I mean... They're perfectly fine, frankly, you know. And there's even an argument to be made that, like, he doesn't need to be sitting there every night reading Go Dog Go and you know, those other the Cat in the Hat to him. You know what I mean? There's a certain time and place for when the father, I think, is really needed in the children's life. Yes, I believe in true love. Great pull. Thank you. Oh, all right. Ganged up. You brought the nose down from from 67% to 63%. So still a sad day for true love on the channel, but you know, the hope is there. The hope is there.
Now, you chose to do that. I'm not saying you sat there and woke up one morning and said, I want to be selfish today, so I'm going to go make a baby. Not saying that at all. But those are selfish acts at the expense of your fear. So at what point do you feel the fear, do it anyways?
So him making a baby with these other women that consciously made a baby with him is a selfish act. I mean, do we even know if these women are saying that, oh, you know, he lied to me, and you know, he took off the protection midway and I didn't know I was going to get pregnant and then that happened. I mean, it sounds like they both kind of came together and made a decision, like, selfishly. He just said he doesn't want to get legally married because he doesn't want to go through, you know, what's going to happen to him if he gets divorced and the state comes into his life in that way. He's still opened up to child support. You know, that's fine. I think things are still working out, but at least he's not going to lose a bunch of other things and end up paying spousal and half his retirement and, you know, all the other things that come with that. She's just trying to say, oh, well, because I heard the word fear one time, you're using fear and therefore you're selfish. He's like, no, I'm just not an idiot. I'm not going to sign these contracts. And I have 8 kids here. So there you go. Robert Spencer, how does creating someone else constitute a selfish act? Yeah, I mean, she's just throwing words out there now at this point. Michael says, many of these women got pregnant on purpose because they wanted him and his money, a form of blackmail. Yeah, I mean, and it, you know, it's just like, and I don't even want to insinuate whatever, like that his specific wives are doing that. I don't think so. I mean, it sounds like things are fine. How many kids has this Kamala imitator created? 0. She has no kids and she's not married. And again, I got no problem with that. I mean, I think people, like, it's okay if you don't have kids, honestly. I would never want to turn the nose up. I mean, that's my position. I don't. You know what I mean? And whatever it is, you know, you got to do. As long as you can handle it, you can handle it. Great. But she's just sitting here looking for a problem and trying to shame this man. I just can't, you know, it's not good.
And yeah, that is a low functioning behavior. To say that I am going to create these homes. Let me go better. I'm going to build these houses and put kids and these beautiful women and kids in them, but I ain't going to create a home in them. I'm going to wait till I dissipate.
I'm going to create these houses and I'm going to put these kids in it, but I'm not going to create a home in it. I have children, so I'm biased and I'm grateful for it. And that's great. You know, even through all the child support stuff, I will say this. I always respected people who had kids, and even though if the situation was really bad, I would like to think that those people, even deep down, are still happy that they had their kids and didn't regret it. You know what I mean? With all the BS. Like, you know, you just got to walk through the fire, even though it sucks, or even though it's unfair. I still think it's just probably such a joy in people's life that they're still wouldn't trade it. You know what I mean? So that should be a beautiful thing. Michael Sand says, having sex outside of marriage is a sin because it lacks commitment and sex creates kids. Yeah, you know, that's a tough thing. I will say this, though, like, just to put a defining line there, Michael, who's to say Cam Newton didn't have a religious ceremony, you know, with those women? So, I mean, he could have had, not with in the Christian sense, obviously that should only be to one woman because that's what the religious beliefs is there. But if he is, you know, whatever they believe in, if he did have a sort of spiritual marriage with them, then, you know, technically they might not have to live with that shame within themselves. But if it was just like, you know, they were hooking up at a hotel or something and then birth control failed on her and she didn't want to get an abortion, or, you know, she baby trapped him or something, then that's, you know, that's a different matter. Robert says, I'm certain that the kids don't regret it. I'm sure they're having a blast, you know, hanging out, going to dad's football games, having a blast, you know, running out and giving dad a big hug after the game or something, barbecuing, watching movies with dad, just having a great time all around, going to the pool, taking trips to Miami and getting on the boat. Man, they're having the time of their lives. Michael says, if he made a covenant with these women outside of a state contract and protected and provided for these women, it would be fine traditionally. Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. Perfectly said. Trevor says, why is it his fault there are women who would rather share the top 10% than have the 90% all to themselves. If women want monogamy, stop sleeping with the top 10%, wait until marriage. Yeah. And I mean, we have no evidence to say that these women that are with him are unhappy, right? So she's assuming a lot here. Plus, they get to exist rather than not. Yeah, the gift of life. There you go. To have their own individual freedom in this world, and to be able to experience that. Yeah.
My fear to find a wife where I'm still going to be fearful with, because there's no such thing as not having some type of nerve or some type of feeling behind marrying somebody who you're spending your life with. And then I'm going to build a home with her.
Existence is cool. Existence is a miracle. It really is. There are many days I wake up and I'm just so grateful that I get to sit here and read books and just do all this stuff. It's like, wow, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe that I can look up and read all these different books from history or philosophies from different places and study about all these different religions, and then go out here and cook food the way I want it and buy stuff and just try to live and learn about things and learn skills and take my camera out and then fly my drone around and get pictures. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Freedom is amazing, you know.
Her, while all these other beautiful babies have houses. That's completely unfair in itself.
Wait, all his babies do have houses.
Selfish.
Just tell me when I can solve.
Yeah, almost. That's completely unfair and that's selfish. And so, yes, you're taking your time in this department, but you're not taking your time in this department, which means you're compartmentalizing and
just for clarity, Jesus never said polygamy is a sin. That is not in the New Testament. You know, that's a really interesting conversation right there. There's a book I was reading. It's called the Marriage. Oh man. Sorry, let me just pull it up right now. Oops. 1 second. I think you would like this book too. It's called The Development of the Family and Marriage in Europe, and it's from Jack Goody, who was an Oxford anthropologist, and he wrote a lot about the dowry and stuff too. But he kind of talks about how we went from, you know, clans and extended families, at least in the West, to this kind of individual nuclear family. And he discusses a lot about the church influence and about how, like, early Christianity, polygamy was fine. And I think the verse that he used, or that he said that I think the church ended up using to make polygamy a thing was, or not polygamy, I'm sorry, monogamy, the sort of law of the land, was Jesus saying that they become one flesh, I believe, when the man and woman comes together. I don't remember the exact verse. Which is interesting to me because I think it can be interpreted in multiple ways. It's like, it's the one understanding that I guess is the prevalent one today is that, well, you become one flesh once you guys are together, and therefore monogamy is the thing. But at the same time, I feel like it can also be interpreted as when a man and woman comes together, they become one flesh, i.e. the child. The child is the one flesh. Now, you know, it's not up to me to say that. That's going to be what the church wants to say. And I get that. But hearing the history of how it used to be polygamous and then it changed kind of a few hundred years, you know, after the fact or whenever it was, is fascinating to read about. Robert Spencer says, so 8 people exist because of him and 0 people exist because of her. And she's calling him selfish. I know, it's ridiculous. And she has made so many assumptions there. It's just like, there's no reasoning with her at this point. There just really isn't. Man, I bet you if you ask those kids, they'd be so happy they have so many siblings to run around and play with and do all these things. It's probably a beautiful family. Oh my God. In relating, it is cool too. Absolutely. I could see women being more open to the idea of sharing a top-tier man with other women once the stigma surrounding polygamous relationships goes away. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to ponder. I mean, I think our society is kind of going that way as far as, like, the society we exist in. Is it illegal? Frankly, no. So many people are kind of in situationships nowadays. That's kind of the new term out there. And it's almost kind of become this sort of, it's almost becoming more normalized in a way. And it's either polygamy or it's either serial monogamy, where it's like, you know, relationship, divorce, maybe a kid's there, another relationship, divorce, no kid, another relationship, you guys had 2 kids. You know, it's very rare to see just 2 people sticking together. Michael Sand says, one flesh is in the Old Testament. where they practiced polygamy. Got it. Yeah, from what I remember from that book, I think that's what they took that. So there's no, I guess what you're saying, and I don't want to put words, but is that there's no explicit mention in the New Testament. So then I guess it wouldn't be Jesus saying it if it's Old Testament. So I have to look at the verse again. But there's no explicit saying in the New Testament that polygamy is banned. That's actually interesting. That's an interesting conversation. Jesus did talk about not even lusting after one another. Yeah, that's an interesting concept too, because it's like, well, you know, maybe you can still be probably married, right? But without the lust in it, you know, possibly if it's maybe just for procreation or something like that. That's just an interesting conversation too, just how religion and history, the views towards sex changed, where it's either celebrated maybe in ancient Greek times, and then it becomes kind of, I don't want to say demonized, but, you know, kind of that way more with more recent religions. Unless it's in marriage, but then even then if it's in marriage and then, you know, lust, it I guess is demonized.
Compartmentalizing never works. Compartmentalizing hurts everybody involved, everybody who's in this
So all 8 of these kids are getting hurt right now?
box and that box and this box and that box and this box, and then here you go over here trying to figure out what box you're gonna feed or entertain or do. Then you're looking outside to figure out who's your next victim to put in the box.
So what is the limit on kids? Like what is she saying that there should only be one person you're married to? Fine. I get it. If she believes that, that's fine. But like what if you have 8 kids with one woman? I mean, so are some of these kids not going to get the attention that they need? You know, I wonder what her opinion on that is. How about that Swedish guy who has over 1,000 kids? They made he's the sperm donor guy, right? That's one way to be prolific. Michael says, Jesus said, do not lust where it Jesus said, do not lust where it causes adultery. And men having more than one wife or mistress was not adultery in the law of Moses. Yeah, that's another interesting in that book that I mentioned just previously here, is that concubines was a thing back then, you know. And it's the church's sort of decisions on these things is interesting. And one thing this book talks about is how, even if you look it up today, the Roman Catholic Church owns the most property out of any organization on the planet. And they became extremely rich in property, especially because what would happen is you'd end up with a lot of families that didn't have an heir, and they would gift the property to the church. And the reason they didn't have an heir was because the church outlawed certain things. They outlawed concubines, so you couldn't get an heir that way. They outlawed adoption. Adoption, believe it or not, was outlawed until relatively recently. I did not know that, and that kind of blew my mind a bit. They also outlawed the typical cousin marriages that were pretty normal for the time, even though Leviticus itself doesn't actually outlaw them. So that was an interesting point in the book. And then the other one I think was called affinal marriages, which is like marriage, I guess relations through marriage. It's an interesting history for sure. If 3 women were married to one man, each woman would be maintaining their own unique one flesh relationship with the man. Just another possible interpretation. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting verse, an interesting way to look at it. And I think the most fascinating part about that is how the church's opinion, I don't even know if they had a prior opinion on it or if they just said, hey, looking at this now, this is what we think it is. And then going forward, I think in ancient, like Hebrew Israelite time, polygamy was a thing, and then it became monogamous. I'm not exactly, I don't, think the Jewish religion outlaws it technically. I might be wrong though. Maybe modern Judaism does. So that would be an interesting thing to look at also. Jonathan Jacob Mayer, look him up. This is the donor guy. I'll have to look him up. I'll have to see that Netflix thing. Nah, man, Jesus said that lusting is adultery. The one verse I remember is if you lust in your heart or your mind, it's as if you committed the sin, which is typically used like, I've seen that thrown around like the NoFap community. And guys kind of struggling with the nudie videos and stuff. Like it's just as bad.
It's unhealthy. And it's a huge dysfunction within our Black community that I truly believe personally, statistically, mental health wise, and community wise.
See, I think she's comparing him to, let's say, what are the memes like Ray Ray or Tyrone or whatever, like someone who is just impregnating women and then not taking care of them or something. But he's not that guy. He's a very successful man. He's taking care of his children. She's looking at it as something completely differently, which is a bit unfair. Jewish law does not prohibit polygamy. It was conquered by Rome, and Rome outlawed polygamy. So Jews did not practice polygamy under Roman law. I see. That makes perfect sense. And thanks for finding that answer for me. You are very sharp, Michael. Let me tell you. I feel like you just got all this stuff up here just from reading about it sometime.
That Black men would stop.
Black men will what?
Stop doing that, that they would stop that dysfunctional behavior of compartmentalizing and creating houses,
Compartmentalizing.
not homes.
She loves that word, compartmentalizing.
And then finally a home with the wife. And then you have all these other houses that are homeless. But you over here at some point when you do get a wife, if you do, I'm saying if that's what you want.
Why would he do that? I mean, it would be the same arrangement with everybody.
You will, you get whatever you want.
But she's not going to consider that to be a wife unless the state contract is there.
You're trying to create a home. Totally dysfunctional and extremely, that's the epitome of selfish. Epitome of selfish. I'm done, you can go for it.
Okay, say less. All right, so what identifies as a broken home?
Oh, beautiful. Good for asking that.
What you have going on with these, whoever.
What you have going on. Yeah, see, now he put her in a corner. What is a broken home? What's a full home?
You're not in the house with is a broken home. It's called a blended family. It's called a blended family.
That means
a blended family and a broken home would not even be the same thing.
That the family.
I could see a blended family in the sense of like, okay, they got divorced and now there's like stepbrothers because they got married again after. But I still don't know if that's actually a broken home, because even if two people got divorced and then they married someone and they're now providing a stable home for those children, even if some of the kids are from a prior marriage, I don't think that would, that's a blended family. I don't know if that's a broken home. So there's at least there's a father and a mother in the house is what I'm getting at. Black women need to stop sleeping with men before marriage as well. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, she's talking about black men, but there's a level of accountability that needs to be placed on the woman. It's like, oh, he's the deadbeat dad, but nobody goes to the single mom and says, hey, you should have chose better. If you're a guy and you get divorced and screwed through court, they will come out and say, well, you should have chose better. You should have chose better, or you're the problem. If it's a single mom, a lot of times they'll just be like, they're not going to be like, well, you should have chose better. Too bad. You don't get help. Those fingernails are probably great at gouging out the eyes of potential suitors. Jewish tradition is uncomfortable with polygamy. This is a quote. And it was banned for Ashkenazi Jews over 1,000 years ago. Sephardic Jews continue to practice polygamy in some countries for centuries. But today, polygamy is almost extinct among all Jewish traditions. That's interesting. It seems like it probably just fell out of favor as far as like economic limitations, possibly. That's interesting. But it's not like outright banned except for the Ashkenazi. So, it sounds like there's room for if they wanted to, like they could.
Family is blended. So blended.
So blended means broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that it should not mean broken, but blended does not mean it's a broken home. I mean, there could still be a stable home there. Maybe it was broken prior, but
So the guy that you were entertaining, you would go as low as 26.
That I would entertain?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And as high as what age?
Whatever man that doesn't have kids.
See, she had to say that, whatever man doesn't have kids, because if she would have said the man has, now she has to eliminate all guys with kids, and then she almost has to go younger because it's a less likelihood the guy's going to have kids. But if she would have said, well, it's okay if the guy has kids, I'm fine with that, then she'd have to admit to being part of a broken home in her own terminology. Pressure for the West and the Catholic Church. Yeah, I could imagine that, just kind of living under that. It's just, I mean, well, the saying is appropriate, when in Rome, even though it's, past Roman law.
As high as
Whoever doesn't have kids, whatever age he is with no kids.
I just.
No, that's the age. I'm saying I don't have an age range as far as how old. If he has no kids,
So your
he's a candidate.
non-negotiable is a person who does not have children.
Mark, if you're in here, yeah, the holes do look like they're just kind of put in there by hand.
My non-negotiable is a person with kids. But yes, I get how you're saying it. Yes.
So you cannot date a person. You cannot be with a
I
person.
can, but I'm choosing not to.
So.
Okay, yeah, we get that.
I can be with anyone, but I'm choosing not to.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah, can or can't, whatever. Just you know what he's
Correct.
getting
It
at.
is my narrative, Cam.
You're
I
like
can,
jumping in,
I
jumping out. It's either.
can. No, it's not I can't. There's no such thing. I can date whoever I want. I am definitely well equipped to do so.
Okay.
So I'm not going to allow that word to be something that fits what I can't do. I'm well equipped to date anybody.
Yes.
My preference,
Yes.
because there's nothing wrong with a lot of men who have kids. So I don't want to put that narrative out there.
Okay, but then she just said that a blended family is a broken home, and that broken home is low functioning. So now she's saying there's nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
My personal preference is I would not choose to date a man with kids.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're dating a man with kids. Just a scenario.
Oh, okay, got it. Yes.
You're dating a man with kids.
Yes.
So you've identified that that's a broken home
There you go.
from the jump. With your verbiage of blended family means broken.
Broken
I've
home.
identified
Perfect. I'm so glad he called her out on
I'm
that.
dating a broken man who is creating who he is. Because we could teach what we know, we create who we are. And so broken people create brokenness, whether it's through a child, whether it's through a relationship, whether it's through themselves. It doesn't have to be a beautiful baby, but you're creating brokenness. And broken people can come from married households. I'm not saying that a two-parent household can't create the result of a child who then has brokenness and creates broken blended families everywhere. I'm not.
Yeah, but then ideally, if, like, let's say they get divorced and it wasn't even one spouse's fault. Let's just say it wasn't one spouse's fault. Okay, they did everything right. The other person, the I'm not happy meme, they left. That's a broken house. Then they get married to another spouse, and now it's a completed house again. It's no longer broken, right? Arthur says, but I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Okay, yeah, that was the verse I remembered. I just couldn't pull out the exact verbiage. Klaus says, blended family with parents present is broken? What is exactly? That's exactly what I'm saying. What is a single parent family where one parent is missing is called then? Oh my gosh. Yes. Michael says, if you were not a virgin, you were considered a slut in the Bible, called a harlot. Women don't want you to know that. Yeah, that's true. That's interesting too. I mean, that would firmly put them into that category. And that would be actually a biblical thing there. That's actually something that would apply to TradCon women. And that's something they should know, because it's like technically they're harlots if they're not a virgin, when they're getting married. Brush needs to stop with this word salad. Yeah, it's like an unholy matrimony of psychology stuff mixed with like spoken word, mixed with not even good spoken word. It's bad. Mr. Pitt says her ability to Jordan Peterson the hell out of the most basic dating questions is astounding. It's an art form of gaslighting. I mean, she's taken it to another level. That is the one thing we can give her as a compliment. I'm going to listen to this for like a couple more minutes, and then we're going to look at the comments and wrap it up, just because I think that we got enough.
That's not my point.
No, I know. I'm making that point. But yes.
But my point.
My answer is I not only identified that those homes are houses without a home because he's not in them,
Yeah.
but also that he's a broken man.
But you're going to be with a broken man.
No, I won't. I just said I wouldn't be with a man. I wouldn't be with a broken man who has multiple kids. I will take
No, not multiple. I'm
well,
talking.
a kid. It doesn't
So
matter.
you're
I don't
not going to date a man with children.
No, but let me clear this up because you said I won't date a broken man. That's not what I said.
No, I said, are you? Listen to what I'm saying.
I heard you.
Doc.
Let me answer it. Hold on.
That's a
We
good
all
one,
have a
Mr.
level
Pitt.
of brokenness. So will I date a broken man?
So we all got a level of brokenness. So everybody's broken anyways? Like, which is it?
Yes. Am I going to date a certain type of brokenness? No.
Of course you're not.
And that type of brokenness is a man who has kids outside of me isn't something that's conducive for what I want forever.
But will you date him?
No.
So that goes to my point. I'm trying to ask a question. You have two different men right here. One man who has...
I will not date a man with kids.
Let him
Okay,
ask the
that's all I'm
question.
asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
will
But
not.
do you understand, just off of the statistics,
Here we go. Go ahead and be a statistic and say it, because I hear it all the time. And
what?
say it.
You say what you're saying, and I'm going to either...
Based on
agree
statistics, most men have kids. Go for it.
at your age.
But that's why I said early on, Cam, when you said young and remember the patience of me being older woman, I said, well, for, you know, a woman who has certain qualifications or criterions like no kids, that would be, I have to have enough brain cells to know, baby, that's the payoff. Okay, he may be young.
Listen, if she's going to look for the 27-year-old guy with no kids, she better be coming with like $1 million in dowry. I think that's the only thing that can make this have a shot of possibly working. Michael says, having multiple wives at the same time does not create broken families. What creates broken families is when women divorce a man with kids to marry other men. Exactly. Yes, exactly. I mean, the fact is they come together with whatever their arrangement is. If that arrangement gets broken, then that's different. Robert Spencer says, I'm super broken. I have 2 adorable daughters. I'm certain they don't mind existing. Oh, Robert, yeah, just being so broken, you know. Oh. Klaus, I can't get over the point. She's a life coach with such a strange concept of broken. That seems bizarre to me, but maybe I just don't understand her. Yeah, you know, I think that's you and me both, Klaus.
Younger, successful, no kids, but now you have to make sure you implement the patience. Or you get you an older man who has kids, and he could have been married with his kids. There's a lot of different scenarios why men have kids, okay? But then you don't have to have as much patience with him as maturity-wise. But do you want to have patience to say, and it's not even dealing with, because that's not bad, you want to have enough patience to gut the fact that you are dating a man with young kids or grown kids, and that's against what you want, your value system. For me...
She's a little too chunky. You know, she's thick with the 2 C's. Michael says, never marry women your age. That is a myth. Women are considered marriageable during certain ages, traditionally at the completion of their puberty till early 20s, as they are still virgins. Yeah, I mean, and especially back then, like, and I get now, you know, it takes a little bit of time for our culture, for people to get their education and all that stuff. But back then, you know, like, people lived on farms and, you know, you were probably going to be around the same area for most of your life. And the faster you guys got married, probably the better. I mean, there was more kids, more help for the farm, and it was just stronger that way. Strong clans and strong tribes. It was a different time, you know. But even now, I could see what you mean. Like, just, I mean, between this or a younger woman, I mean, you know, she's not really selling it for the older ladies right now. That is why a 25-year-old man and a 50-year-old man look for the same women in their early 20s. Well, yeah, I mean, they're naturally, you know, attracted to that. Now, she's an attractive woman, you know, like, there are attractive older women I see. But, you know, if you're going to get married to an older woman, then you're probably going to have to accept, especially if it's a long-term monogamous thing, that you either may not have kids or you may not have as many kids as you'd like. If she's bringing some kind of wealth to the table, then that's part of your calculus. Whatever. I'm not going to shame anybody for that. But, like, the important part is just understanding what the deal is, you know. Marrying women in their later years gives them the idea that they can divorce and anyone will still marry them. Yeah, that's true also. That's part of the mythos.
I rather choose the poison of,
I got like a
patience with
minute
you, baby.
left that I can
We'll just
handle.
have to figure this out, and I'm cool with that, and we'll have a good time in the meantime. Then I know
Okay, so she's cool for the fun in the bedroom. I don't know if that's what she meant by the
that
good
you
time.
have kids. It's against something I never wanted as a child. And now, if you have young kids, I'm going to be very involved because I'm a loving woman. I'm never going to take
But
them
you're
there.
giving us
And if you're very involved with the young kids, then that's not a broken family anymore. that would be a full family. The kids have the mom and the dad there.
Scenario that you're saying.
Yeah, that wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Right, and those are the reasons why I wouldn't do them.
For sure.
Because I'm going to be involved, right? I'm never going to be a woman who's not.
But I must defend this situation. I have 8 children. And
8 beautiful babies. I'm
I
sure.
will not, no baby mother of mine could ever say that she's a single mother. Because
Exactly.
single mother
They're not single
insinuates
mothers.
that she has no help.
No help. Yeah.
So for me in my situation, life be lifing. That's a common.
Yeah, it does. I agree.
And my situation is a product of life happening. So,
And none of us are exempt from it.
And she has to like try to devalue what he's doing, because then the question comes after, like, well, she's here right now with 0 kids. She says that she wants to get married. Maybe it would work better for her to just be, to be in a sort of similar situation like the wives that he has, or in that it might make more sense at this
Right,
point.
So
right.
we have preferences.
100%.
We have things that we could say, okay, I would love to do this. I'm
Right.
raised in a church, so my father would always direct us to say, hey, be this, be that, be that, be this.
Right.
But I can also tell my father this: your reality is not my reality.
100%.
Robert says Trump promises cheap IVF. I wonder if she's a Trump voter. I saw that clip actually with Trump saying that, and I find that interesting because it definitely panders to women and kind of women's issues, and I guess that's going to be their way of trying to get the birth rate up, possibly. I did actually mention that in my conversation with Stephen Baskerville, so you guys will see that tomorrow. She's never having kids. Well, yeah, I mean, if she does, it may not be with the husband, so we'll see. I'm starting to think she fired off the phrase broken homes by mistake, and she's simply digging her heels in instead of correcting her initial statement. That's what it seems like, too, because it seems so obviously ridiculous, right? So it's like, it doesn't even make sense. I think at this point we've seen enough. Let's just look at the comments here real quick. And this is the part that surprised me, because I took a peek at the comments, and they're all dogpiling on Cam Newton. It's crazy. It's like a bunch of Dr. Bryants in here. You can tell Cam is used to dealing with low vibrational pick-me women. Like, you see how they just got to insult the other women? Like, they don't even know who they're talking about. Because he doesn't even know how to carry a conversation with her for real. Like, I mean, what conversation can you carry there? She kept answering his questions, and he kept thinking she didn't. Zero comprehension. God bless her for her patience. I mean, we got a woman in the thumbnail. Cupcake Queen was the first one. Sounds like a woman. Here's Kim. Kim says Cam exposed himself as a low-functioning man. They are just loving the buzzwords here. He never recovered. Oh, the trauma. This woman gave a master class in high functioning. This is what a master class looks like. These are the people we are out here dealing with, folks. Just so you know. Renee says, you can tell he doesn't like when women talk. Oh, so now this guy's just an angry misogynist. Did he come off as an angry misogynist? I don't think so. I think he was just trying to talk with her. He likes when women listen. Ha 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 ha. Here's Plant-Based Unicorn. She is definitely a psychologist. The amount of de-escalation and validation he required exhausted me, and I'm not even talking to him. So, gosh, there's no comments by guys in here. And this guy has 1.5 million subs. He's a football player. I didn't know it was this many women watching him. Taylor says, big respect to Dr. Bryant. She was disrespected from the start of this interview, yet remained respectful, classy, and dignified. And this is after she called all of his kids in broken homes, right? Crystal says, imagine having 8 kids by 3 women in your 30s and questioning the value of a single woman with no kids at 41. Why do we need to imagine that? I mean, it makes perfect sense. Cathartic Life Lesson says, Cam only proved how right she is. This was exhausting. He was exhausting. He was determined to make her wrong in all scenarios. Gaslighting and all. He can defend his relationships with his children and baby mamas all he wants. But if they aren't together in the same household, it's a broken home. Man, this reminds me of the Stewie crying meme. Like, they all have to tell themselves this thing to be able to sleep at night. I mean, I have a sneaking suspicion they're all in a similar position as Dr. Bryant. Cam was outclassed Boy, money doesn't make you smart. All right, that was enough on that end. It's insane. Cheap IVF will secure the MILF vote. Exactly. I mean, it completely panders to that class of women. It reminds me of that Mark Rudolph segment countering the argument for why women live longer. Yes, I remember that. When men are married to women who talk like you, they just want to die sooner. Robert Spencer, these are all childless cat ladies. Yeah, that was really part of why I wanted to share this with you guys, because it was insane. It's like seeing this crazy echo chamber all in one place. And I don't even think this is his usual content. I think he probably makes sports related stuff or just other related stuff. And, probably more people watch him. Like, it's not just a men's channel. It's not just a woman's channel. I mean, what seems like a woman's channel. But for this one, they just all dogpiled on him. That is the prevailing culture. Like, this is what we're living in. Like, when they say gynocentrism, this is what they mean right here. Michael says, women don't like polygamy because it is lessening their possible resources. Yeah, well, yeah, they have to divide over that. But still, okay, yeah, someone like him who's outstandingly successful, he can afford that. And it's just like, but that other lady just had to come with shame. It was just really weird. It was like meeting someone who would probably see himself as a high value man. I don't know if he referred to himself in that way. I don't want to put words in his mouth. And then there's her kind of referring to herself as a high value woman, and these two coming together and having a conversation, and it was just a complete disaster. And what he considers as a high value woman is probably a younger woman that's going to give him kids. But she has to call those women low value. She has to call those women taken advantage of, and that they don't know any better, and that they're getting a bad deal, and that they should do what she's doing. You know what I mean? Because if she doesn't do that, then she has to look in the mirror and see what she's, who she really is. Polygamy keeps women in check because if they don't act proper, the man will simply look for a new wife. Yeah, well, I mean, it's the competition anxiety. Great show. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Big shout out to you. Klaus, he never recovered because he didn't need to, as he is smart enough to not marry. Of course he didn't recover because he didn't let himself get injured in the first place. I mean, this guy learned. This guy was watching Coach Greg Adams. I really think he was, you know what I mean? And he's just like, hell no, that's not happening to me. I'm sure there's so many nightmare stories of his own NFL coworkers that he saw firsthand what happened to him. He saw firsthand what happened to his basketball player buddies, to all of his celebrity homies, you know what I mean? And he's like, hell no, that ain't happening to me. And from the pain and suffering of the men who came before us, he's able to live a better life at the very least. It could go wrong. He could have to pay child support, but paying child support is a hell of a lot easier when you're not also paying alimony. So he's offering a good deal to them. If they want to leave, like, you're not getting a penny more than the child support. If you want me, if you want these kids to have a lot more involvement from me, then we got to do it that way. We got to do it my way. Sorry. That's the deal. But anyways, I do appreciate everybody who was in here and kind of dragged through this with me. I apologize for the torture and the sort of nails on chalkboard. That was half of this interview. I felt like there was just some reason to watch it. Because again, it just kind of like that Manifestel video we watched with that one woman. It just sort of highlights this and it shows it on display. And then when you look at the comments, you really get an idea of what we're up against. Like, this is, the mind virus is crazy out here. The conditioning is wild, so we have to negotiate with this. We have to figure this out, and we have to try to avoid the landmines where we can. Michael says, women simply do not have any pressure to stay married, no enforcement from the state, and no pressure from their family, friends, or church. And not only do they not have pressure to stay married, they at the same time have incentive to get divorced. I mean, it's just, it's the laws that we have in place now are just so anti-traditional and far from it. I mean, it's a completely different culture, dang near, at this point. Robert says, that's one way of saying it, Michael. Another way is that society wants women to be sluts. Yeah. it almost makes you think society is kind of selecting for narcissists. It's like something happened and people get conditioned in a way to where it's like the society wants to make them more selfish. And that's frankly what people feel they have to do to be able to survive at this point. For all the kind of weirdness, I did have a great time. This comment mentions Russell Wilson. This is why there are black men that cannot stand Russell Wilson. High value and high functioning. I can't exactly remember Russell Wilson's story, but I feel like there's probably a bit of a laugh in there that I'm just not getting. Either way, this is one hell of a show. Just to go to the poll real quick, looks like we landed on 60% no with 40% believing in true love. Wow. Well, hey, that's actually less cynical than I thought it was going to be. So I'm glad that there's close to an even split. Now the no's did take the win here. But I do like that there is a bit of diversity in opinion here. So that makes it fun for me. I will call the stream. I appreciate everybody who came in, hit the like button, everybody who chatted. Thanks again for the donations. I do appreciate that and appreciate the support on the channel. Tomorrow I will have a amazing discussion for you guys with Stephen Baskerville. I do hope you guys get to enjoy that on Sunday. I'll try to get that before noon my time, possibly earlier. And again, we all get to look forward collectively to my discussion with Paul Elam. So that's coming late September. So I got plenty of time to prepare for that, which I'm grateful for. Trevor says, hey, Shah, do you think it's unethical for men to sleep with women they are not willing to marry, knowing that they are adding to their body count? That's a great question. Well, and I guess the unethical part kind of comes in basically saying, well, it's going to make it harder for them to marry. It's a tough question for me, and I'm tempted to say yes, but I do lean on the side of no, to be honest, because I'm looking at it from a sense that the women have an agency. I think it's unethical to lie to somebody. And if the men are kind of dangling marriage in front of them just to sleep with them, I think that's bad. But I think if you're honest about, your intentions and, they just really like you or something like that, that's different. Definitely protect yourself at all times. That's rule number 1 around here. But if you're lying to get in their pants, I'm going to say that's unethical. Now, if you're not doing that and they're just down for it or whatever, and it does add to their body count, but they were willing consensual participants, then that's different for me. So, Mr. Pitt says, W stream. Thank you so much. Shout out to everybody. And we will see you next week. I do hope to get some other standalone videos out. I have been saving some Reddit stories and some other clips that I've seen that I do want to make standalone videos for. But we will definitely be here next week, Saturday at 7 p.m. at the same time. And hopefully I'll be able to get a couple of videos out for you guys as well, just as extra stuff. And I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have a blessed and joyous rest of your weekend, and a Labor Day weekend at that, so you guys get to enjoy Monday off. Thank you, Shah. Looking forward to the interview.